Also, being able to edit content before releasing it is a really big advantage from a PR perspective.
Some of the videos from this period are used by snarkers to make insane claims about Ethan now.
So, okay, might as well strip things down further. No more editing, just a live stream with the switchboard. Ethan can just bounce off of his crew instead of having to risk a personal bond.
Bro! They've got an entire studio with multiple microphones and a set. I'm a drama slop tuber. What now? Nothing. I still make the same amount of money, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And if anything, my viewership has only increased over time. Edited this together with the narratives that he's tried to push and the stories he's trying to spin, fully knowing that this subreddit is called Child Protective Services on them. So, apparently, this video was released, changed names, and has now been privated, but there's a copy of it we can watch. And I think I've watched this guy's videos before, and I've actually thought his videos were okay. I don't know, I've not really thought like crazy great things about it. Just kind of like, yes, it's all right. I don't know. Here we go. So this is the video here from Jimmy Robbins. Jimmy Robbins, The Unraveling of H3 Productions. So this was the first name of the video. Okay. And then the second name of the video was H3 and the Trap of Lazy Content. Now, I can't say for certain, I don't really care that much about titles of videos. It just seems quite interesting that this seemed to line up with the call to CPS happening. That this was changed. This is the same video. They just changed the name of it. Unfortunately, Nicholas had a retardo moment and he didn't show that with the thumbnail. But I think this makes it clear here. But yeah, you could easily get confused. But no, this is the same video. This is the same video. Okay. H3 and the Trap of Lazy Content was the second name. The first name was The Unraveling of H3 Productions. So, for me, I'm like, okay, well, it seems like you've changed that in response to what's happened. It seems like you've gone, oh, well, that looks a bit bad now. Maybe I should change the name of the video because he's had CPS called on him. But anyway, I've heard this video is very bad. I don't want to poison the well beyond that. We'll watch it and we'll see what we think. But let's have a little look and we'll figure out what we think about all this. Everyone's talking about the parts. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm very excited. Here we go. H3 and the Trap of Lazy Content. Let's get into it and see.
Hearing the name H3 used to invoke a reaction of praise for one of the most beloved YouTube channels in history, known best for tightly edited commentary videos that would take aim at some of the bad actors on the internet.
You're talking about 8-year-olds spending $100 to open.
Okay, straight away, I'm like, well, H3 has always been a controversial person to one group or another. Like back in the 2016 era, which is alluding, I guess, to being the height of it, he would always piss off like the SJWs that were popular at the time because he'd defend people like Humongous. Do you remember that? So beloved, it's like amongst a certain community, yeah, but other communities hated him. And the communities that have hated him has changed as time has gone on, as he's focused and talked about different things. Yes, there was a guy who was massively chastised by the SJWs at the time because he went up to some SJW person, and when asked for his name, he said his name was Humongous. And the woman said that she was being sexually harassed by him. And Ethan, along with other kind of skeptic types at the time, made a video defending the Humongous guy. It was about 2015, 2016, something like that. And then obviously his community and commentary types at the time would have liked it because they felt it was like, yeah, this is unreasonable the way the guy was getting treated. But that would have likely resulted in criticism from like the kind of, at the time, woke side, or SJWs as they were called back then. So it's like beloved, not beloved entirely. There's obviously groups that have hated him throughout, and that's flipped and changed as he's gone through his own kind of journey with this stuff, you know?
A virtual crate for the chance of winning Yeezys or $250 million house? I mean, you have to be 8 years old to believe that that's real.
But over the past year, they've started to invoke a very uncomfortable grimace towards their live podcast that easily clears dozens of hours in runtime each month. Now, on some level, this shift to a lazier format, or at the very least one that is way...
Is he acting like this is all in the last year? I feel like this guy who is like putting this all on the last year when there's like literally years of drama and controversy as he's flip-flopped for different sides. You know, initially he was more with the line with the skeptics, and people liked him because of that. He did the Jordan Peterson interview, and people really liked that. And then there was this kind of moment which is best exemplified by him taking the Jordan Peterson video interview, which is like the soy or the woke arc, where people feel like he went down a more kind of woke perspective. That was a few years ago now. And then obviously more recently, the fallout from the Assange stuff, there's been kind of a flip another way, where, you know, the rightoids who used to like him still think he's a fucking idiot, but are somewhat defensive of him. And he's found a new audience amongst a group of people who, you know, he's either had along the way or have respected the fact that he's taken this stand in the light of what's happened with Assange and have kind of come back and warmed up to him again. It's not like a year ago something happened and then it's just a very bizarre framing when there's been years of constant backwards and forwards kind of like criticism and condemnation of him from different groups, dependent on what political angle he's been taking at the time, you know? So the framing here is just doesn't really stack up to my understanding of what's happened. I certainly don't know the law to the level of other people, but I do know there were like critical videos of Ethan that were coming out like years ago at this point that were pointing some of this stuff out, you know?
Easier to mass produce makes a lot of sense. Once you've made your name and fortune, why would you possibly keep going with the all-nighters, caffeine addiction, and social isolation when you could just chill? Make content that requires a tenth of the work but makes triple the money. And while that transition would seem like it would be an easy one, it isn't always seamless. In fact, I would argue that...
Okay, wait a second. Ethan Klein does a professional podcast. Okay? He's acting like Ethan's me, some shitter sat in a gaming chair in his fucking bedsit reacting to videos. He has got an entire team of people that he runs a comedy podcast of. That's not lazy. Like, there's a lot of time and effort that's gone into that. And if you watch, yes, professional, why are you laughing at professional? Yes, it's a professional setup. What do you mean? It's a studioed professional podcast that's got like an entire, you know, studio quality professional setup. They do live events. Yeah, exactly. And if you watch the podcast, reacting to stuff is naturally a part of what they do. But much of it is like commentary on stuff, comedy bits, talking about themselves, etc. This idea that it's this lazy content. You could make that point if he was sat in his room reacting to videos like I am, maybe. But I don't think you can really classify that as like a lazy move, right? I think that it's probably a combination of, you know, it's probably more profitable to do, sure. I could imagine there's more profit in that sort of thing, of doing a live podcast model. But there's also a lot of time and effort that's gone into it that I don't think really is fairly described as lazy. That's okay. Let's continue on and see what his points are.
That it comes with a major trap that can take a beloved and respected creator and turn them into something unrecognizable. And arguably the greatest example of this can be seen with Ethan.
Why is he showing Nick is not green? The reason Nick is not green became hated is because he uncritically backed up his friend's story, which was bogus, and didn't back down on it for months and months and months. That's why he became hated. It was nothing to do with the type of content he did. It's he made a specific decision to repeat and back up the allegations on the basis of lies his friends told, which were then exposed.
And Hila Klein themselves, who went from championing free speech on YouTube and cementing the right to criticize others.
The wording that the judge put into the opinion is going to strengthen fair use across YouTube.
To threatening to dox and sue critics on Reddit while they unironically engage in months-long takedown campaigns against others.
You people are scum. You have dedicated your lives to harassing me, my loved ones, my crew. If there's any...
Okay, so I think the distinction here that's important to make, and this is something that I see with a lot of the critics of Ethan, right? And I've given criticism of Ethan. I don't think he's perfect. I don't think he's a perfect guy. I think there's things you can say about him. Obviously, the CPS thing does change things, but certainly there's behavior and actions he's engaged in, which I think are wrong and he shouldn't have done. Okay? The distinction here is Ethan was making a single critical video about someone using their clips, and he got struck down for that. Whereas here, you've got an entire community of people whose hate for someone is so virulent that they talk shit. That is fine. I think that's okay. But it's the fact that they are seemingly taking it beyond that and trying to interfere with his business, with his life in some way. Exemplified by the CPS report, possibly backed up by some of this other stuff like the office doxing. But I need to know more about that, really. But I think, to be fair, this was edited before the CPS report, no doubt. The CPS report is kind of the peak of this. But I think anyone that's been paying attention can see that there are reasonable concerns of certain behavior that's occurred. Now, has Ethan behaved perfectly? No. I think there's things you can criticize him for. But I think there's this flat comparison they try to do where they try and say, well, Ethan fought back against someone trying to erroneously use DMCA to take down a fair criticism video, and now he's using those same tools to take down stuff which I think arguably could be a breach of copyright. If they're saying watch this rather than the original video, you're creating a market replacement. That could easily be a breach of copyright. You know, people that are engaged in a escalating, deranged, obsession to the point where they're taking actions beyond the forum they're discussing it. So I do think there's differences and little details that people don't distinguish that make it easier to be critical flatly rather than point out some of the differences. You can still criticize Ethan, but there are meaningful differences that I think, you should take into account when you're talking about this, and you shouldn't just flatten it out because there are differences that are worthy of consideration.
Justice in the world, they will lose everything that they care about. And I will be the one that makes them lose those things through legal means.
So what exactly is this trap that I'm so convinced they've fallen for?
Like, for example, right, the whole thing about the video. Ethan doesn't have a problem with, as far as I understand it, people making videos that are critical of him. And he has often watched and responded to those videos on stream. Right? So I don't think it's about just making a video. I don't think that's the problem. There's clearly some other behavior that is being targeted.
Well, it all starts with their rise. See, while these days the duo are known for the H3 podcast, usually live streamed for hours at a time, that's of course not where they got their start. Instead, they made their name on the YouTube channel H3 Productions, where they eventually emerged as one of the most notable faces in the commentary genre, with a focus on calling for content creators to hold themselves to a higher standard.
And that's true. That's what's so messed up about Logan and Jake's audience. These are kids. They can't tell the difference between what's right and what's wrong. They don't have a critical voice in their head, right? And what Logan does is he takes full advantage of them.
Now, since this format was personality and opinion based,
yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't want to, because I don't know the full extent of what Ethan's done. But as far as I understand it, as long as there's commentary, he won't strike you. I think there was a time when people were posting clips of his paywalled podcast without commentary, and I think that was an issue for him. So it does seem to be, it's the creation of a market replacement that he takes issue with, and that he will potentially take action against that. But commentary is fine. Yeah. I've never had any issues with any sort of copyright stuff, and I've covered quite a lot of Ethan Klein shit,
just
about Logan and Jake's audience. These are kids. They can't tell the difference between what's right and what's wrong. They don't have a critical voice in their head, right? And what Logan does is he takes full advantage of them.
Now, since this format was personality and opinion based, just like their current podcast, you'd expect their newest content to feel like a natural continuation, right? But in reality, the two formats couldn't be more different. I mean, sure, back in the commentary days, they were giving their opinions and poking fun at people, but they were usually doing so on videos that were roughly 10 minutes long, often much shorter. Also, these videos would usually be uploaded no more than once a week. This all means two things. One, for Ethan, who generally acts as the main face of the channels, to talk about something, it was probably going to be a topic he cared for and therefore knew a lot about and had something worth saying. And two, these videos were generally reactive in—
What? Huh? That's not necessarily true. There's some videos where he's just like kind of riffing and having a laugh. He's not like super invested in it and sweat lording out hot takes. He's just having a fucking laugh with it. I don't even know what this guy's point is. He's trying to say that this, like, the podcast is higher effort than this. this is one thing that I find really funny about, you know, this criticism is like, some of this is very low effort. Right? Just because it's done a bit of editing, it's quite low effort. You just watch a video and go, look at this fucking moron. Oh yeah, look at what they're saying here, man. Da, da, da. You know, not much is going into this. It's quite straightforward. And it's quite simplistic what is happening in terms of the editing. Not that I'm an editor, but I would presume that it's not that complicated to edit this together in a way that you could probably spit out in a couple of hours, right? Just like my streams. Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Exactly. But yeah, the podcast is like a step above whatever this was, but he seems to think the podcast is lazier. Let's hear him out. Let's hear him
talk about something. It was probably going to be a topic he cared for and therefore knew a lot about and had something worth saying. And two, these videos were just...
So at that point there, what specific evidence would you point to back that up? Like, for example, the way you might want to do that is you would say, here's a video where he spoke about X topic, and you can see he's done a lot of research into this, and this. It seems pretty obvious that that's not the case. And a lot of the time he was just riffing and spitballing and just saying shit. Like, I don't he's overstating, like, the level of interest he had in these topics on the basis of nothing, I don't think. Like, you could fire up a video, talk some shit about the person and have a laugh with it, and that's that.
Generally reactive in nature, not taking away from the talent and achievement of this era, but seeing a video of a guy being a creep and making fun of him for being a creep, it's hard to mess that up.
Mommy Makeout Day. No, Chris. No, you didn't just say Mommy Makeout Day. You cannot say that with a straight face.
It also helps that a lot of H3's top videos are about topics that were very popular to dunk on, like with inappropriate pranks, the Paul brothers, or promoting gambling to children. There's a reason why you don't often see commentary creators getting into controversy over their own content. They've historically stuck to topics where most people are already on the same page, meaning it's easy to know where the line is for a given topic. Not to mention that the internet was still very much the Wild West at the time, where a lot of behavior that is now frowned upon, like edgy humor or use of slurs, were more...
I mean, it's just funny he cuts to iDubbbz there. Also, is that even true? I think that Ethan not getting in trouble for that content was not a product of it not being controversial. It's just the standards were different 10 years ago. And you could make crazy jokes about something and it wouldn't be that big a deal. It was only around 2015, 2016, where I think that you actually had this shift and then people started to scrutinize this content a bit more. Which would be 10 years ago, I guess. But I'm talking about stuff before that. Because he said some pretty crazy shit in old videos. You know? But I think it was about then that the worm started to turn and people started to scrutinize these things a bit more. Exactly, that's what I'm getting at, yeah. This is rewriting history. It was controversial anyway. It wasn't controversial in the commentary bubble. Exactly. To a certain group of people, and they became more prominent around the 2015, 2016 era of this kind of like SJW movement or whatever. That's when it maybe started to be scrutinized more. But I think the fact it wasn't controversial was that a lot of commentary people weren't super bothered about the stuff that other people were doing that was like offensive or whatever, right? It was more so like, I mean, I wasn't following that closely, so I probably can't say more about it than that. But yeah, just feels like he's got this kind of romanticized remembrance of all of this. And that he made a bunch of videos and he wasn't controversial, and then all of a sudden he was. Anyway.
More than fair game at that time. Also, being able to edit content before releasing it is a really big advantage from a PR perspective. Assuming you act as your own editor, every word out of your mouth...
What? Bro, some of Ethan's videos were insane. In fact, some of the videos from this period are used by snarkers to make insane claims about Ethan now.
Welcome.
I just think this is completely wrong.
Cheers. I feel like I've already seen this video 10 times over with the exact same copy-paste editing and script.
Yeah, this doesn't really stack up for me. I don't think this is true. I don't think Ethan was concerned about PR when he was editing clips of him saying crazy shit about, you know, like sexualizing kids in music videos and stuff.
Is being reviewed at least 3 times before anyone else hears it. Not to mention that the more reserved Hila would often rein Ethan in when he would start approaching the line.
They're so unself-aware. I can't.
I don't know if you can call her a bitch, though.
She is a bitch.
Wait, hang on a sec. We're jumping around massively. We've gone from the edited commentary videos from like 8-10 years ago to now a podcast from 3 years ago. We've jumped forward like just like that. Okay, like you're jumping about all over the place. Now we're talking about this. I thought we were talking about the old videos where he edited stuff, and now you're using this clip to back up the idea that Healer's holding him back. Something that happened in 2022. Bizarre. I feel like I'm watching a Quentin Tarantino movie.
You're right. I call her. See you next Tuesday.
So while this is a bit ironic coming from me, it's not that hard to become likable with commentary content. Quite literally, everything is working in your favor.
Bro, this guy is like, this guy is like fucking brown sludge. I've watched his videos before, and I didn't think anything about him one way or another. I didn't think, he's not likable. He's just like a, you know, he's like the video edit version of me, right? I mean, he's just fucking sludge. Well, to be fair, I wouldn't say that about myself. But like, do you know what I mean? He's like forgettable. He's trying to act like he's like likable. Bro, you're like fucking somebody who just says shit about a subject and people listen to it and go, okay, fair enough, and that's it. Am I being too mean? Am I being too mean? Well, now I think I'm quite unlikable to some people. I'm like Marmite. I'm probably like Marmite, really. You either like me or you don't. Yeah. I think the point he's making is you can put out like commentary video. You could do like a Moist Critical. And you could put out commentary videos that are like unremarkable. That are fairly like unremarkable and fairly uninteresting. In terms of like making a strong point. And they're just like the common opinion repeated back. Like Moist Critical does. And you're not going to get in much controversy for your videos. And the thing that you do end up getting in controversy for is when you make a bold claim about something. Like what happened with Moist Critical in that debate, you know? Yeah, I don't know, dude. This video is no answer for why the stuff from 2017-22 is completely ignored for the most part or even defended. Yeah, we just had... I don't know, dude. It's like... It's just very confusing for me. We've gone from that to now 2022. And he's trying to say that he's likable, which I don't like, I disagree with.
It's not that hard to become likable with commentary content. Quite literally, everything is working in your favor to put your best foot forward. And in the case of H3, it helps that they were funny and charming, not to mention relatable. Add their victory in one of the most important lawsuits in internet history, and it's hardly a surprise that this duo became some of the most popular and beloved YouTubers ever. So what happened? Well, the grind of YouTube, it can get old. I mean, throughout the 2010s, YouTube became more focused on consistent uploads with longer run times, hence why tightly edited content like vlogs, sketches, and song parodies became less viable than gaming let's plays, podcasts, and live streams. Before long, it became much more lucrative to spend a few hours on a 30-minute video every day rather than dozens of hours on something that was too short to run mid-roll ads on. So as YouTubers started to move towards podcasting, Ethan and Hilo were some of the first to lead that charge in 2017, and the format itself...
Okay. But then the thing is, it's like... I feel like we're really missing the fact that some people, like myself, okay, pump out 2 hours of fucking salop reacting to some shit video, right? To maximize the runtime or whatever. I mean, I don't do it intentionally. I just have a lot to say. I'm not sat here thinking, oh, we can probably crank up the runtime by another 30 minutes and get an extra fucking, you know, few $100 of ads. I don't think of it like that. I just like to talk a lot, right? But the point is that that's like one way that people do it. They just release lengthy videos, okay? But this podcast, a lot of time, effort, and thought has gone into it in terms of making it something and making it a produced thing. And I feel that's really being discounted here to act like they're just pumping out long videos. Yeah, and they're reinvesting what they're getting back into their production. Clearly, the money's on the screen. They've got a full fucking studio.
Is unrecognizable from what you'd find today. While recent episodes of H3 podcasts are mostly live hangouts, in its original form, the podcast was an interview format, much like Ear Biscuits and Shane and Friends were. But even that is kind of a lot of effort. Like Justin Roiland, Post Malone, Shane Dawson, there were some pretty big names appearing that required scheduling and coordination, not to mention some level of editing. I mean, hell, both the H3 podcast and Ear Biscuits have almost completely abandoned the idea of having guests because the effort just wasn't worth it.
As far as the waning interest in interviews, part of it was practical. You're subject to these people, guests showing up, having to be booked, having to pick people. Are they the right kind of candidate? Do we want to talk with them? Do we have things to say? Yes, it was a whole thing.
There would be time that would go into learning about them and watching their videos and then coming up with some semi-intelligent questions. And that process became a little more like homework.
Him putting effort into the podcast doesn't make it good. Okay, so, right, that's your personal taste though, isn't it? He's trying to make this argument that he's gone to like this kind of lazy model of content creation. But I don't think that's really like legitimate when you consider the level of production that goes into the podcast. Okay, you could not like it, obviously, but it doesn't really stack up. I think if Ethan was just sat in his room reacting to videos all day, I could probably see the criticism more. But he's not. He's literally set up a fucking entire studio to film a podcast in.
To me about a subject that I wasn't interested in.
Thus began the slowly increasing list of cuts that the podcast would make. This started with them replacing the guest-based formats with shows that had a built-in co-host, like with Trisha Paytas with Frenemies or Hassan Piker for Leftovers. And in fairness, these formats were still pretty highly produced for podcasts, especially Frenemies. But then both shows ended up imploding due to personal conflicts between the Kleins and both Hassan and Trisha. So okay, might as well strip things down further. No more editing, just a live stream with the switchboard. Ethan can just bounce off of his crew instead of having to risk a personal bond.
Bro! They've got an entire fucking studio with multiple fucking microphones and a set. This is like, oh, it's just a switchboard. It's like such a downplaying of what the fucking thing is. It's a company. It's it's an actual fucking produced product podcast. And he's just sat here like, yeah, well, he thought he'd lazily set up a full studio podcast with a very high sheen and production value. What? It's just like a completely wrong and stupid criticism that doesn't make any sense when you think about it. And on top of that as well, they also still do events. Like, what was it? No, it wasn't this December, it was last December. I think they do it every year though. They do like the shows, the streamies, they do like the fake award show thing. I'm sure there's other events that I don't keep abreast of all the shit they do. I'm sure there's other stuff they do on top of that as well. Okay. It just feels like, you know, I don't really care. If you want to say Ethan Klein's podcast fucking sucks and it's gay, right? I don't fucking care about that. Call it gay and shit as much as you want. It's such a bizarre criticism or claim to say that this is like lazier, to say they've gotten lazier just because they don't book guests to come on anymore, you know? Like, yeah, it's complicated to get a guest on, but it is like a fairly, you know, straightforward affair and that you can just get some shitter to do it for you. Right? It's not like he's acting like getting a guest on is some sort of gargantuan task. Yes, guests could be annoying and they can cancel, etc. But it's not this big task. I think if you said, right, you know, you've either got to book a guest once a week for an interview or you've got to set up an entire professional studio podcast, like, it seems likely that the second one is going to be more laborious and harder to achieve.
Getting in the way, and he can largely just react to whatever content is brought in front of him. Essentially, while it is still a podcast, the format has more in common with reaction streams than anything else. And this shift has marked Ethan at...
Bro, I just don't... So he is making that comparison. He's saying it is comparable to streaming in your bedroom.
Okay, that's wonderful.
I just don't think that's true.
Money off depressed people.
This video is an attempt to memory wipe the viewer Men in Black style.
I genuinely hate the... He's basically doing the slop argument, I think, right? I'm part... The slop stuff is... Dude, all this shit... Dude, there were so many shitty videos about it. It just fucked the whole thing up, and now no one fucking cares. Yes, I'm serving slop. Who cares, bro? Yes, I'm making an absolutely insane amount of money just serving slop. Correct. Problem? But I think it's, you know, I don't care about that necessarily. It's just applying that to Ethan's podcast when, yeah, they react to videos sometimes, sure. But they do still have guests on, I think. Maybe not to the level they did. Maybe not as much anymore, I suppose. But it's still a very high quality, highly produced podcast that I just think acting like it's lazy is just a bizarre criticism. You can say you don't like it because they've changed the direction of the content, I guess. But that seems like a very unnecessary basis for a video. It's just, oh, I don't really like the fact that they do more react stuff on the podcast than they did before. I'm not going to watch it anymore. That would seem to be the better way to handle that than make an entire fucking video about it.
By far his most controversial. But why? I mean, somebody gaining fame and fortune before growing out of touch is a tale as old as time. But what's so interesting about this happening here is that I think the shift to quote-unquote...
Also... Like, you know, I will defend the react stuff a bit, okay? I mean, it depends on what you're reacting to. If you're reacting to something that you agree with, just to nod along and go, "Yep, that's right," that obviously sucks. But in some of these cases, they're not just finding a random video and reacting to it. There's actually a docket that they prepare. Obviously, the team that does it at this point. But they do prepare like a docket of things. I've seen like them do it. They go over it and talk about it. You know, there's even been arguments about the fact they don't have time to get over the entire docket that Dan's put together. So, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like he's trying to put them in this box that they're just like a fucking someone sat in their bedroom, lazily firing up a video to react to without any thought, rhyme, or reason.
Quote, lazier content, while often more lucrative, comes with a set of traps that can practically force this change. And it's a trap that...
Well, I mean, I'm just past the slop. The slop stuff is like, okay, sure, I'm a slop tuber. I'm a drama slop tuber. What now? Nothing. I still make the same amount of money, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And if anything, my viewership has only increased over time. So I don't think your little insults are really doing anything. And all these videos that come out about slop, none of them seem to actually do anything. Right? It's like one of those things where it's, if you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. Right? Enjoy. Fuck. The piggies are coming. Get the slop in the tray. Let's go. And but even then, it just feels like such a weird criticism to make towards Ethan's podcast. But let's continue. Maybe he's got some points.
Ethan and Gila aren't alone in springing. What do I mean? Well, first, the main benefit to lazier content is also the biggest drawback, and that's sheer quantity. Like having every thought that you express for hours a day being streamed to the internet, that's risky. I mean, everyone has bad opinions, right? Or at the very least, opinions that boil down to simple preference that you can't necessarily defend. Generally, you keep those to yourself because it's not worth it, especially when you're a content creator. Everything you say is going to face some level of scrutiny, so might as well stick to more concrete or unimportant topics. But when you're trying to fill hours of uninterrupted airtime, eventually you're going to start scraping the bottom of the barrel, especially when dead air is the enemy of retention. So over the past...
Okay, he's got a point there. That is true. My fingernails are literally clogged with dirt from scraping the bottom of the barrel sometimes. That is true. I'll give him that, okay? But then I don't think that really applies to Ethan because he only streams like a few hours a week, a few times a week, right? Dude, I think Nicholas is onto something here. As a recovered video essayist myself, these guys are furious, streamers 10 times their AdSense, and are held to a lighter standard since their reactions are live. Yeah. Well, I don't think they are necessarily. I think people still scrutinize the live reaction. It's just that the live format gives you some ground with which to say, okay, I got that wrong, I just looked at it, whatever. But some people don't bother doing that. I guess that like Hassan isn't scrutinized by his own community. But from others he is. In any case, yeah, I think that it probably is an element of being bothered about the fact that you can just fire up a live stream and make fucking way more money. Way more fucking money than if doing video essays now.
This year, they found themselves in a weird cycle of presenting an unfounded opinion, it being posted to Reddit or TikTok, which causes them to get pushback, and responding by desperately trying to justify an opinion that didn't need to be shared in the first place. For example, you had Ethan and Gila giving their take on Markiplier. You know, one of the most universally beloved creators, someone with a squeaky clean...
Okay, I'm fairly certain that all the fucking retarded autists overreacted to this. I don't think they were actually going after him. I think they were like, you know, doing a bit of a bit. Playing on the fact that he's a well-liked YouTuber. Like this, bro, this is like the fucking snark influence coming into play here, right? I saw this a little while ago. I would hear like the snark subreddits present something that happened in some crazy way. Oh my God, Ethan just abused and raped his staff live on camera. And then I watched it and I was like, well, that didn't happen at all. They had a bit of a disagreement and it was like a bit testy, but it was like a standard workplace disagreement and that was that, right? And it's the same thing here. All these fucking autists were influenced by some gay snark narrative that they were like trying to, you know, R and K Markiplier, but they weren't. They were just making a light-hearted kind of joke about the fact, playing off the idea that he's a light YouTuber, calling him names because I think they'd unfollowed him because they didn't want to see some particular type of content or something like that. It was like a nothing story. It was a totally nothing story. Nothing happened. And all these autists acted like they were going super hard at him. And this guy's uncritically repeating it. What a fucking retard this Jimmy dude is.
An image that if you're going to start something with, you better be damn sure you've done your homework. Yeah, out of nowhere, Ethan and Gila came out with this.
And by the way, I'm going to go on record right now, and I'm going to say the same fucking thing about Markiplier. He fakes his voice from the beginning. That is not what he sounds like. Find a video of him younger.
Bro, people laughing. Obviously a bit. Obviously a joke. And this guy is just uncritically acting like this is actually an attack.
I haven't, but I'm telling you I'm right.
Well,
but I'm telling you,
everyone laughing.
He has the same voice. He's faking it. He is faking his fucking voice. There's no question in my mind. I was right about him, and I was right about Markiplier. Sorry.
Can I ask the research team to look into all the Markiplier videos?
Yeah, they really gave us the slam dunk that someone's voice changed as they got older and became more comfortable on camera.
Bro, this guy's... Bro. I've watched this guy's videos and thought they're okay, but this one video has made me realise that he's a completely worthless retard. How the fuck are you going to watch that and actually think that's serious and it's not some bit that they're doing? Oh my god, dude. What a useless, worthless fucking retard this dude is. No wonder he took this video down in utter shame. Because it fucking sucks.
It's so weirdly unnecessary to bring it up at all, let alone asking their team to look into it. But again, we're well over an hour.
Oh my god, yes, that's part of the bit, you fucking moron. The idea is of how absurd it would be to have people look into whether or not someone's voice changed. That's the joke. The joke is, oh, should we get someone to look into this? Because it would be such an absurd and overwrought thing to do. Dude, how is it that fucking... Bro, these people... I thought that this guy would be better than to take an obvious joke at face value. He's either autistic or malicious or possibly both.
We're into an almost daily podcast. When you're filling hours of airtime every single week, you stop speaking because you have something to say and start speaking just because you have to keep talking. And immediately they take it even further.
Markiplier's psychotic like that. Like he's a psycho. You could tell. And so he is someone that can
wait, hold on.
to
You can
faking his
absolutely
voice.
Just tell.
You can absolutely tell.
Thank you for backing us.
Everyone laughing at the bit. Right? Calling a beloved YouTuber a psycho that fakes his voice and saying the team should look into it. Obviously just a bit. And they're taking it seriously.
So he is a psycho, and he is capable of doing something that extreme, of faking his deep voice for like 20 plus years.
Worth pointing out that only the crew members push back on this, but Ethan and Gila, the two who have directly experienced a shift to lazier content, are the ones who instinctively double down.
What has lazy content got to do with this in any way? What? There's no connection there. They do lazy content, so therefore this unhinged attack is a product of them doing lazy... What? All because he's misunderstood what is an obvious joke because of his egregious autism. Dude, this is embarrassing. This guy should be ashamed and embarrassed that this made it into a serious, like, commentary video. This is shameful that this guy has permitted this. Remember what he was saying? Oh, he's hosted by his own petard now, isn't he? Right? Oh, well, the thing is with a commentary video, you get the PR of saying what you want to say. Yeah, your fucking autistic ass included an obvious joke as a serious point. Jesus Christ, bro, what a moron! I can see why you wanted me to watch this now. This is fucking insane. This is an absolutely bizarre and terrible video.
So we end at labeling an introvert for being more energetic on camera as psychotic. Isn't that a weird battle to pick for two people who built their reputation on calling out actual ethical issues in the creator space? Especially when plenty of...
You've called out ethical issues and now here you are making a joke about Mark. Oh, bad fucking move.
Autistic people describe having to mask their monotone voices just to be socially accepted. Not saying that applies to Mark, and it doesn't really matter if it does, but turning something so innocent into something malicious just because you don't vibe with someone can have much larger implications. So once upon a time, Ethan and Gila's motivation for speaking up on...
The only implication it had was a bunch of autists on some snark subreddit getting pissed off about it. I don't think that Mark even cared. Did Mark even respond to this? I'm pretty sure he likely saw that it was a good bit of good-natured banter and didn't care, right? Unless I'm fucking missed something. If he responded at all.
online was them trying to make the internet better, but now all it takes is...
That being said, he annoys me because
it's just
because of his voice and because people like him and nobody else sees it like I do. And also, he unfollowed me because I tweeted a green pie.
There's the truth.
And to be clear, I don't particularly care about the take itself, but in any context, I feel like it's just weird to publicly express your dislike for someone if said dislike doesn't stem from anything tangible. And it's even...
What? Come off it, dude. You can say you don't like someone for any reason. Why must you have a tangible dislike for someone? What? Who gets to decide what's tangible? Tangible is totally subjective as well. What, dude? And also, it's not a take, it's a joke. This is wrong on every account. Every account, this video is just incorrect.
Weirder to double down multiple times and use the fact that nobody agrees with you as evidence that you're right.
I'm looking at chat, and there's not one fucking person in this chat that's like, oh yeah, Markiplier's annoying. That annoys me.
All of this playing on the bit, riffing, obviously a popular guy, chat are obviously saying stuff, many of them probably in on the joke, and they're fucking having a go at you, probably memeing, a bit of banter, you're responding in kind, and this guy sat there like, wow, this is deeply troubling. Even chat, he was even railing against chat. Oh my god, it just feels like this fucking retard has just looked at a couple of posts on the Snark subreddit and decided to make a video without any further research or thought process.
That's what annoys me. Don't you guys see? But you can tell there's a certain inflection that he's mastered.
I absolutely,
he's an entertainer.
He's a professional broadcaster.
Yeah, also
maybe you could take a couple lessons from him on enunciating.
Yeah.
He's a phony baloney also.
And this isn't an isolated thing by any means. There is a long history of these podcasts producing harmful clips that just didn't need to happen, like Ethan's checkered history with Philip DeFranco.
Harmful clips that didn't need to happen. Well, I'm fascinated to see what the harmful clips are.
Where during Frenemies, Ethan and Trisha just kept making fun of and commenting on DeFranco's body.
Okay, first of all, regarding that Philip DeFranco footage you showed me, I feel like for some reason you just want to call him fat.
Absolutely not. But if you're going to call me out for being fat and skinny, then call him out for being fat and skinny.
Wait, hold on. And it looks like he gained a few pounds.
You're being very nice as opposed to calling Tan a fucking Twinkie.
Philip DeFranco, I admit, looks heavier than you would expect.
And even years later, Ethan...
That's a harmful clip. That's a harmful clip? What?
continued to make these kinds of remarks.
Who would you pair me up against, theoretically? Probably Philly D, right? But he's taller than me.
How much taller?
Right, it just feels like this whole video is having to explain basic concepts of like comedy and jokes, essentially. Right? The idea there is that Ethan is accusing Trisha of presenting a video because she wants to be critical of someone's body, right? And then the counter kind of joke is that Ethan is going soft on him because he's friends with him, right? It's like very basic interaction between two people, and I don't think it's particularly harmful, right? I just don't think it's that big a deal to make out like it's a harmful clip. You could say it's shitty or something, maybe. I don't know. You could not like it, but harmful? Come on, dude.
He's doughy though. He's doughy.
I don't think. I mean, he's lost.
He's soft.
A lot of weight.
No, but he's like permanently doughy.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
He's just got that soft, doughy look to him.
We call that in my family a ham sandwich.
He is a ham sandwich, definitely.
Eventually leading to him publicly begging them to stop.
To Ethan Klein, can you stop talking about my weight on your podcast? By the way, it's well documented that I've talked about myself having an eating disorder that I've had to really fight to overcome over the years. So when you say on your podcast to hundreds of thousands and if not millions of people that I am permanently doughy, that I am a ham sandwich, it's and I think it can have a genuinely negative impact on other people.
Mind you, Ethan is someone who is right.
Yeah, Philip DeFranco was wrong to freak out about that and comment on it. But wait a second, was that not...
Million had to podcast.
Stop.
The tone here seems more... I don't know about this fucking thing, but the tone here seems a lot more like he's kind of rolling with it and having a bit of banter, but then at the end he's more serious.
Ethan Klein, can you stop talking about my weight on your podcast? By the way, it's well documented that I've talked about myself having an eating disorder that I've had to really fight to overcome over the...
Oh, yeah, okay. Some of it is stated in... Okay, so, but then he's talking about having an eating disorder. Yeah, okay. See, part of me wants to say, well, Ethan wouldn't have said it if he knew he had an eating disorder. And I don't know if that's true. What it seems like to me happened here, I wouldn't call the clips harmful, but I can understand they're upsetting to him, particularly this context of having an eating disorder. I'm guessing he said this and Ethan probably stopped and maybe even issued some sort of apology or comment on it. Is that right?
The years. So when you say on your podcast to hundreds of thousands and if not millions of people that I am permanently doughy, that I am a ham sandwich, it's and I think it can have a genuinely negative impact on other people.
Mind you,
I mean, I don't really like the fact he's doing it like this. I think this is very pathetic behavior. Like, yeah, that's your fucking, like, people are going to comment on you. People are going to comment on the way you look. Fucking, you know, you've got to fucking be able to deal with that. I think if it's someone that you know or you're friends with, maybe you might reach out to them and say, hey, can you go easy on that? I am a bit bothered by it. But I don't know the full extent of this drama. I don't know the extent of all of this, and I don't know what happened and what happened behind the scenes and how Ethan responded. So, yeah, I'm a bit like, is it shitty to make those comments? Sure. But I'm not sure if I agree with like this kind of public framing of it. I don't know if there were private communications and he didn't stop or something like that. But it's, you know, the eating disorder thing, was that something that he just revealed then? Did Ethan know before? Like, it seems kind of shitty that someone's just making some comments about your appearance, which happens in the public sphere, and then you respond by going, well, I've got an eating disorder, so maybe don't do that anymore. Like, it just feels like when you're joking about, it's like when you're joking about someone's dad, right? And you don't know, and they go, well, my dad died, actually. And you're like, oh, okay. Also, what about the fact that Ethan himself was packing some weight back then? I mean, I feel like that has also got to come into it too. And that's kind of like a self-critique thing, maybe. Yeah, I don't think I've got enough information to really give a solid take. I just think that you're going to have comments about you like that. Like, if you've got some sort of personal issue with it, you need to kind of contend with that. If they were friends or had some connection, and that was the first statement he made about it, he probably should have reached out first. I don't know, something like that probably.
Ethan is someone who has rightfully reacted with disgust when someone has body shamed himself or his wife.
But I think most people would agree that calling someone's wife a horse is
right. But like I said to that, like you did call Tana a Twinkie. Like I think that's like something he thinks is funny.
Yet when Phil responded, Ethan's first reaction was to somehow make himself the victim.
Also, it's the fact that it's like obviously meant to be good-natured banter, right? Now that could go wrong sometimes. Where we've all had it, where we've been with our mates, okay, and someone's a bit sensitive in a way that you don't realise, and you take it a bit far, and you cause a bit of an upset, and then you got to deal with the fallout of someone getting a bit upset about something. Okay, that happens. But I think that he's turned it into this like absurd and unnecessary public spectacle when it probably could have been handled different. Something like that, I guess. But if they were friends, you would hope there's private communication. And if there's not, I don't know, that seems a bit unreasonable to put them on blast for going at you about your body and then you've got an eating disorder.
When's the last time Philly clickbaited me for something good to say, congratulations, Ethan, you did a good thing today? I didn't know you had an eating disorder or even that it affected you. The part that rubbed me a little, or I guess I was just like, damn.
Oh, here we go.
Like he's doing this really specific call out like against me for like body shaming him. Is it a little ironic that when he's talking about not body shaming people, he shows like this picture of me, which obviously he's posted in jest.
I mean, it's just a goofy haircut. It's something that
I look fat.
You have total control over.
There was also an infamous...
Oh my god, no way he's going to bring this up, dude! There's no way he brings up the cutie Cinderella stuff. That's unreal. He brings up the cutie Cinderella shit. Oh my god, dude. No way. That's unbelievable that he brings this up. Anyway, sorry, before we get to this bit. Yeah. Okay, I think I understand where he's
Somehow
coming
make himself
from.
the victim.
When's the last time Philly clickbaited me for something good to
I don't think he's making himself the victim. I think he's making a reasonable point about Philip DeFranco's
say?
actions.
Congratulations, Ethan. You did a good thing today. I didn't know you had an eating disorder or even that it affected you. The part that rubbed me a little, or I guess I was just like, damn, why did like he's doing this really specific call out like against me for like body shaming him. Is it a little ironic?
Yeah, I think I'm actually, with Ethan's description here, I think I'm siding more with Ethan. If that was the first thing he did and was like, yeah, I've got an eating disorder, so stop calling me fat publicly like that, that's crazy. When his comments were clearly banter. Now, it could be that he was upset by them, and that's fine, but he's kind of like, I think unreasonably putting on blast there, rather than just saying, hey man, can you ease off that? I'm a bit sensitive about it. And then he probably would get like, yeah, fair enough, sorry, I didn't realise, and that would be that, you know?
Ironic that when he's talking about not body shaming people, he shows like this picture of me, which obviously is supposed to ingest.
I mean, it's just a goofy haircut. It's something that
I look fat.
You have total control over.
There was also an infamous moment where Ethan mocked Cutie Cinderella's distress over the rise of AI-generated explicit images of her.
What is going on with you?
Sorry, don't mind me.
Okay.
If you are able to look at women who are not selling themselves or benefiting off of being seen sexually.
She doesn't have to accept my apology. I don't know if she accepts my apology. But I did apologize to her.
And while initially Ethan gave that sincere apology, more recently he came into conflict with Cutie's boyfriend Ludwig. See, Ludwig had pointed out that during Ethan's latest content nuke, he presented a doctored image as factual.
She won a Rising Star Award at the stream.
Bro, this whole doctored image point was worthless, okay? The basic point that Ethan was making still stood, even if the details were wrong. And also, I don't think the reason that Ethan was upset with Ludwig was necessarily over this. He pointed out it was stupid. It was the fact that Ludwig was still trying to rail on Ethan for the chestnuts roasting moment, despite the fact that he had got reaccepted Atrioc into his life and was like on shows with him again. So the guy that did the thing that was actually the bad act you're upset about, but you're going to be friends with, but you're going to go after Ethan for something that he since apologized for that he made a joke about. So, unless he makes that clear, I've got a concern that he's going to just get this totally wrong. But let's see. Let's see.
Cutie's boyfriend Ludwig. See, Ludwig had pointed out that during Ethan's latest content nuke, he presented a doctored image as factual.
She won a Rising Star Award at the Streamer Awards, an award show put on by her friends. And then the next year, guys, she gets nominated for Rising Star again. Are they?
Now, I tried messaging to deal with it offline, but this is just wrong. And not only like wrong information, it
also worth pointing out. I mean, I understand not getting into it necessarily, but I'll point out here that Ludwig didn't engage with any of the meaningful points that were made in the video. Now, I don't think that Ludwig has to engage with this and talk about this and fucking go over the video. But the fact that he like zeroed in on what was like an issue, an error, but in the grand scheme of things, a fairly trivial error. Okay. And it's the fact that he focused in on this and didn't address anything else that was in the video. And also, the other thing as well, the reason that I think there was confusion is because some of the clips from the Streamer Awards are from like the year after the award is for. So I think some of that discrepancy probably also caused confusion. Now, does that mean that Ethan should have said it the way he said it? No, obviously he should have got it right. But it's this idea that Ethan was like substantively wrong to do this, when the broad narrative that he was trying to present that it's absurd that you get nominated one year and nominated a second year, like it's obviously like you're getting, the whole point is if Frogan is like what is it, astroturfed, like astroturfed in Twitch despite being a fucking loser that can't stream and is retarded, which is true, and that still stands even if the order and the details are wrong.
It's like fake and doctored information. This screenshot is fake, okay? How do I know it's fake? Because I watched the award show. And when I did a bit of research, I did a reverse image search, I find out this fake image came from Destiny's subreddit a few months ago. To be clear, it is true that she was nominated in 2021 and lost, and then was again nominated 2022 and then won. But she's not been nominated in like, I guess, 3 years now.
And Ludwig calling this out makes sense, since Cutie is the one behind the Streamer Awards of...
Okay. Ethan said, and he said that he got it wrong, but it didn't matter. The main thing that he was bothered about is they were coming for him over the Cutie Cinderella shit, even though at least Ludwig had forgiven Atrioc.
Of course, he's going to correct someone being flat out wrong about his girlfriend's work. And throughout this correction, Ludwig makes it very clear how disinterested he is in any kind of feud with Ethan.
I don't talk about Ethan. I don't ever talk about him. I don't know why he pulls me and Cutie into shit. I think it's weird.
Dude, this narrative that he pulled them into it, they were barely involved in the video. He barely mentioned them. They involved themselves, and they did it in a way that they didn't actually address the meaningful content of the video and address what was essentially a triviality because they didn't, you know, they didn't want to fucking go after Hassan, which I don't fucking care about if you don't want to go after Hassan, but just this was a pathetic response from them.
Rather it not happen. He can do what he wants. I'm playing video games over here. Leave me alone. Leave my girl alone. You don't gotta pull up pictures of her and make fun of her again.
And not only that...
What about that part? Let's explore that a bit. So we said that. Anything else we could talk about there in relation to this?
Ludwig goes out of his way to state that he doesn't even like the creator that Ethan was criticizing.
First off,
at the street.
Look, I won't speak for Cutie. I'm not friends with Frogan. I don't particularly like Frogan.
So we just wanted to take a couple of minutes out of his stream to point out a small mistake that...
Okay, but when the criticism of Frogan is so severe in that video and so true and correct to the things that are being said, and you go, oh, you used a fake image and you got the years the wrong way round. That does act as a soft defense of Frogan. You are softly defending Frogan, even if you're not explicitly saying it. So you better off just not commenting at all. But he got involved in a way that he could talk about it, make it about himself, not engage with the actual criticism, and offer soft defense for the people that were fairly being criticized in that video.
That Ethan made. And yet in response to this, he went off on Ludwig multiple times, at one point using the song that he had played during his initial incident with Cutie, which in my opinion kind of makes that previous apology a moot point now that you're standing by your behavior once you don't like them.
Bro, this guy is a fucking moron. This guy's a totally wretched moron that should delete his fucking channel, bro. He's clueless. He doesn't have a fucking clue about any of this shit, dude. The reason he did that is he was bothered about his actions in terms of how he went about addressing it. And he said that it was absurd that he was like spineless and focusing on that. And then he also pointed out that they had forgiven, or Ludwig had forgiven Atrioc, and yet was criticizing Ethan for going after Cutie when he since apologized.
You know? In fact, this is such a recurring issue for the show that they specifically changed their setup so that they're always streaming at a 30-second delay and have a button on standby that allows them to cut moments like this.
So wait, we push the
point now that you're standing by your behavior once you don't like them. You know? In fact, this is such a recurring issue for the show that they specifically changed their setup so that they're always streaming at a 30-second delay and have a button on standby that allows them to cut moments like this.
So we push the button and it dumps 20 seconds.
20 seconds retroactively. So from the moment
that the button thing is from ages ago, I thought. It's nothing to do with that.
the button is pressed, it's rewind time. And yeah, the stream itself is on a 30-second delay.
Which, to be clear, I think that's a good idea, to implement some kind of filter that allows for hindsight when they speak. But that hasn't been enough to overcome this hurdle.
Okay, wait. What about, the Ludwig stuff? Wait, is that it?
Okay, that's
wait, he's not going to talk about why fucking Ethan Klein was going at Ludwig? Thank you for the $5. Is that not essential to the point that you're making and laying that out and saying, well, this is why Ethan was upset, and then the audience get to decide what they think about that? He's just skipped over that entire part of it and is making out like it was all just about him correcting the record on his video. Yeah, and also the button is not related in any way to the Ludwig shit. The button is a product of not wanting to fucking get banned on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure it got introduced ages ago.
because it doesn't always work.
We're doing it.
What are you
Making it
doing?
so awkward and terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Just like, this is what I'm talking about when it's always
We
like,
need to get home for our kids.
it's like, bro.
Oh no, I didn't want to finish it right now. I was just talking about finishing
On
Wednesday.
Friday.
Bro, oh my god, dude, this is 100% a product of looking at Snark. This is a fucking narrative from the Snark subreddit. This was like a terse conversation that was a product of probably like, you know, I think AB, was speaking a bit out of turn and wanted to finish the docket he'd made and they couldn't because they were running out of time or something like that. It was like nothing. It was a total nothing burger.
You guys, like...
And partially because when you start getting into more personal topics for them, the 30 seconds aren't enough. And that's where you get some wild clips, a lot of which centers around their latest feud with Hassan Piker. A feud that is largely based on their opposing views on the crisis in the Middle East, which culminated in Ethan posting a 2-hour takedown of Hassan to the H3 Productions channel. And since Ethan has made many follow-up streams about Hassan, despite the latter barely replying to his video. And in...
Bro, what? Now listen, I actually agree that he did too much on the Hassan stuff after the nuke. I agree. But what is this guy on about? Dude, Hassan spoke about it loads. Hassan said he wasn't going to watch it and then spoke about it endlessly. What is he on about, dude? Dude, Hassan spoke about it loads. He was up literally as the sun came up talking about it. And he's like, oh, he barely responded. Bro, this is just bullshit. It's wrong. It's just wrong. You can be critical of the way that Ethan handled the post-nuke stuff. Totally fine. I think that he made some mistakes and I went about it. But you can't lie and say that, oh, Hassan barely responded. Hassan talked about it fucking loads.
Doing so, he's made multiple remarks that have led to pushback because he just won't let this go and clearly can't handle talking about this topic on the fly. Like at one point, Ethan says this.
Jackie Treehorn? Yeah, he looks like he's at a Jackie Treehorn party. You know, fucking drunk women. Which surprisingly doesn't seem too far off from what he actually does do.
See the problem? How can you make a 2-hour takedown of something?
Wow, okay. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because I remember... maybe not this exact video, but I remember Hassan sitting, I'm pretty sure, in the front of this window. And the sun coming up behind him as he was talking about the fucking video. So I don't know if it's quite fair or accurate to say, oh, he barely spoke about it. Like, come on, dude. You can be critical of Ethan, but at least be honest that Hassan did talk about it a lot while saying he was going to watch the video.
Too far off from what he actually does do.
See the problem? How can you make a 2-hour takedown of someone, not mention that they apparently have this history of predatory behavior, and then just vaguely state so in a stream and not elaborate further?
He's not saying that, dude. He's making a joke about the way that he looks. I don't even know who the guy is that he's referencing, but he's not saying he's got a history of predatory behavior. He's making some sort of joke, presumably about the turtleneck that he's wearing, right? Don't mention Mutar here, you will send Chud into a blind rage. Bro, what? Bro, I'm very relaxed. I'm very relaxed, actually, about that fucking loser. A total freak, retard loser, Indian guy Mutar. I'm totally relaxed about him, actually.
Either Ethan's full of it and is fabricating a dangerous allegation, or he's helping to protect a predator by not elaborating further.
What?
To say, well...
Bro, what are you on about? Ethan is not saying that he's got demonstrable proof or whatever that Hassan is a predator. He's making a joke about the way he looks. Oh my god, dude. What is this guy on about, dude? Ethan is running the brothel moment. I don't think so.
Well, Ethan, you're saying
from what he actually drunk women. Jackie
on the fly. Like at one point, Ethan says this.
Jackie Treehorn? Yeah, he looks like he's at a Jackie Treehorn party.
Okay, right. Well, let's fucking piece this together. What is a Jackie Treehorn party? Oh, it's a Big Lebowski reference. Well, I can't play that, can I? Okay, well, that's about all we can do on that. Oh, it's like some sort of, like, sex party or something. Right? Okay, dude. I don't know, dude. I don't think this is a specific reference to any behavior. He's making, like, pretty sure a joke about how he looks. Could be wrong about that, but I think that's what he's trying to say.
You know, fucking drunk women, which surprisingly doesn't seem too far off from what he actually does do.
See the problem?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that part at the end. It doesn't seem too far off from what he does do. Okay, right, fair enough. I just think he's overstating it. I think he's making, like, you know, probably is reference. He maybe is referencing the brothel thing, sure, or the bro tip stuff, maybe something like that. Yeah, but it's like something and nothing. It's like very, you know, little there to really latch onto. It's just like kind of a throwaway, like, insult thing. I don't think there's anything really that substantive there.
How can you make a 2-hour takedown of someone, not mention that they apparently have this history of predatory behavior, and then just vaguely state so in a stream and not elaborate further?
Well, presumably because he doesn't actually have anything of substance to say in regards to his behavior, in regards to sex stuff. So he's making a sort of, you know, half joke about it in a throwaway way on a stream, rather than including it in an edited piece where he's actually trying to condemn and criticize his behavior. That's probably why that it's not in the video. I would say, I'd wager. I mean, I thought he would know this as someone that makes videos himself, but clearly not, because he's fucking retarded.
Either Ethan's full of it and is fabricating a dangerous allegation, or he's helping to protect a predator by not elaborating further. All this to say, while Ethan's early controversies were largely centered around occasional edginess,
is it worth telling about the bro tip stuff? I don't really care about the bro tip stuff. He made some extremely, like, edgy, like, masculine, pro-man video shit when he was working at TYT, I think, many years ago. I think it's something or nothing. I don't really, yeah, I'm just like, if you want to look at it, fair enough. I don't really care that much about it. I don't think it's that much, really. Like, it's just more just, haha, look, you're a socialist who says they love women. And now look at you, and you used to say this bad shit, right? It's kind of like the equivalent of bringing up a lefty's 10-year-old tweets where they say the N-word or something.
And is fabricating a dangerous allegation, or he's helping to protect a predator by not elaborating further. All this to say, while Ethan's early...
No, he's not. He's making a throwaway comment. He's not making a serious allegation of wrongdoing.
Controversies were largely centered around occasional edginess, the content of his words was always praised. But more and more, he just seems to keep putting his foot in his mouth.
What? This is not true. I just think this is a total rewrite of history. I do not believe that it's true that he was just like, he's been the source of controversy repeatedly over the years,
while trying to fill hours of unscripted content. Another great example of this is whenever they attempt to discuss the aforementioned crisis. For Ethan and Gila, the latter of whom served in the IDF, this is a very personal topic, so the two just can't help but constantly weigh in and say things that are just not a great look. Like Ethan ridiculing creators for raising $1.6 million for aid.
So creators for Sun raised $1.6 million. That's fantastic. Literally negligible. They've received billions of dollars. It's a good thing. Has $1.6 million had an outcome on anything happening? Absolutely not. Has it helped people? Sure. Has it helped the actual, like, movement? No. Like, raise money. That's good. That's the easiest thing you can do, is just give money, right? Good. Let's talk about real activism. Let's talk about enacting meaningful change.
Well, wait a second. What is the context of this? What is he referring to? And why is he saying it? Well, it sounds shitty, but I don't know why he's saying all of this. Right? I mean, like, it could be a legitimate point. If someone is saying, you know, if apropos of nothing, he just starts railing on a random person who's raised money for charity, it's something to do with Hassan, I guess. It's probably Hassan. I guess, like, for example, if there's someone that's raised 1.6 million in a humble way, and you start going, 1.6 million? That's fucking nothing. You've barely toast aside, you fucking loser, right? Then, yeah, that's like an unreasonable and unfair, like, excessive attack. But if someone is going, well, I'm actually a very good advocate for this cause, and I've done loads. In fact, I've raised 1.6 million for charity, and they're then using that charity as a means to launder their image or make themselves look good. I can understand why someone might get criticized for that. You know? And, like, it's contextual. It's going to totally depend on what the context is of why he's saying all of this for me to really assess what I think about it. It just seems very clip-chimped to me, and I don't know why he's saying this. and I maybe have listened to it before. I can vaguely remember something, but I don't know, dude. It just, to me, feels like a very contextless statement that I need to understand more about before I can assess what I think about what he's saying, you know? And then also the other thing as well is like, there's a difference in effort for a cause between donating money, of which you have plenty, versus taking actual action. Exactly. And then also, if you are fundraising from your community, like, it's good that you've done a stream to fundraise, but you have obviously, maybe you put some towards it, but that predominantly is coming from your community. So your community is also responsible for that. Is it good to facilitate that? Sure. But I think it gets to a point where it's like, okay, it's good you've done that, but I don't think you can use that as a means to your defense to act like you're some fucking virtuous person to too extreme a degree, you know?
Total fucking failures.
While also somehow repeatedly uplifting himself for donating $6,000.
I actually donated $7,000 to Sign Relief, and that's certainly a lot more than negative.
It's also worth noting that...
Bro, the whole point of him saying that is at the time, he was in the midst of a bunch of people saying he was some fucking pro-Israel shill that hated Palestine. He's not just saying that apropos of nothing. He's not just saying like, you know, he's not just saying like, oh yeah, I'm so based, I donated $6,000 or $7,000. It's likely, I'm pretty sure, in response to people saying that he fucking hates Palestine or something, right? And he's saying that these people just like to post about it online but don't do anything meaningful. At least I've done something about it. So we've got two different contexts. Without understanding what has led to those comments being made, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to discern what to make of them without understanding why he's saying the first thing. And I'm pretty sure the latter is in response to people claiming or you know, doing this kind of false online activism or something like that. So very bad, very poor, just very wretched behavior to do that, to put these clips in without giving meaningful context. And then you're supposed to just go, oh yeah, well, he's a hypocrite. Well, what is the actual context of those statements? I don't know. You need to tell me what they are so we can decide what to think about them.
That Markiplier was the top donator to this organization, one that Hassan is heavily involved in, which might explain H3's sudden interest in attacking Markiplier unprompted. There was also...
What? What is he on about? Bro, that's got no... First of all, as we said repeatedly, that was a joke. And I don't think that has got anything to do in any... Prove it. Show me. Where? Where can we see this? Where can you show us anything that backs up this absurd claim that you're making? That he's saying it because Mark donated to fucking Hassan's thing. What?
Also, Hila involved in. It's also worth noting that Markiplier was the top donator to this organization, one that Hassan is heavily involved in.
Creators for Palestine. TIF LA Wildfire Relief. Okay. I just don't see how this has got anything to do with his comments on this podcast about him. I'm just trying to think, how? How could you possibly think this? There's nothing that I know of or have heard of, or even any commentary that I've seen that would stack up to this being anything meaningful related to him telling more obvious jokes on his podcast about him.
Which might explain H3's sudden interest in attacking Markiplier unprompted. There was also Hila praising someone as a good person who, was an interesting choice.
Just the other day, BB fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about, and he fired him because they had a disagreement, and that's like so Trump coded.
He was like a moderating voice in the war room.
Yeah, I do understand that was not a good choice of words, and I would not have said that again.
And this disconnect can even be seen leaching into their higher effort content. Like with Ethan...
Okay. Yeah, I think that was a really stupid thing to say. Yeah, sure, I'd agree with that, but... Okay.
His takedown of Hassan, he presents communism as the greatest threat facing America.
The thing is, there's something kind of scary brewing in America. Communism.
Which is a pretty large
Wait, what? Where is he saying it's the greatest threat? I don't think he ever said at any point it's the greatest threat. And I'm fairly certain that he's probably anti-Trump. Okay? So I doubt that he's like, bro, this is like such a bizarre... He's doing this thing of like taking every statement and framing it in the worst possible terms.
disconnect from him as the greatest threat facing America.
The thing is, there's something kind of scary brewing in America. Communism.
Which is a pretty...
I wouldn't say it's a joke, necessarily. I think he genuinely thinks that there is, like, a problem with it. But I don't think the framing of it is he thinks it's the greatest threat is fair. Like, he's not saying that at all.
A large disconnect from his usually left-wing audience who would likely be more concerned about the current administration. Like, across the internet, you could see people labeling this as the duo shifting to the right and going against the beliefs they had spent a decade promoting. And all of this is just scratching the...
Unless I'm being autistic now. I think it's a pretty obvious joke. He's called it a joke since then. Oh, so is it actually a joke? That he's saying that when it should be about Trump or something. I don't fucking know. Anyway, nonetheless, let's not get bogged down in this.
The surface on how their coverage of this topic has alienated much of their viewership.
It feels like 95% of the internet has turned on, let's face it, us.
No, just mostly you.
Collectively.
Yeah, just you.
All of us, man. And let's be real. Let's call a spade a spade. The views are down. We'll get him back.
Ethan had his shortcomings, and I could usually look past them and still enjoy the show. But lately, it's been way too much. The hypocrisy and double standards have just piled up.
But because they're so emotional...
Okay, why is he putting this is from a former fan channel? Yes, fans that are like fucking obsessed with someone could become the most bitter anti-fans given certain circumstances. I don't know what difference that makes that he used to be a fan. Yeah, some fans can turn deranged and then they fucking shit on you endlessly. I mean, worthless. I mean, dude, it's like a clip from a video. Who cares that some fan made a video shitting on it? That happens all the time.
Invested and are streaming live, they've come to have basically no filter on this, which is consistent with the behavior from their comments on Markiplier. There was no point in bringing it back up, but because the criticism stays in the back of their minds and in their chats, they've developed a reflex for doubling down. Mind you, this has turned into a frequently recurring issue for them. I'm just touching upon some of the most notable examples, and none of this is even mentioning their increasing pattern of hypocrisy. Because yes, loads of people have opinions that are hypocritical, but there's usually a little filter in their brain that prevents them from voicing those. But when you're trying to go hours at a time without dead air, you just gotta say whatever's on your mind. Like, remember Ethan's spiel about Markiplier? At one point he fires this barb.
This is my third post for the day of a Let's Play I haven't even watched back. I literally just put it in my secret.
Bro, we're still talking about Markiplier this late into the video. Come on, dude. Complain about the same jokey bit he did.
And export it without even reviewing it, guys. There's not one cut in this video.
Dog, you are literally in the middle of a live streamed ramble, which is the bulk of your output. How are you in a position to call out lazy content? And with lazy content, there's also a huge conversation that's been had about reacting, where some creators, most vocally Dark Viper AU,
oh, look who it is! Listen, I did spot this in chat. I got it spoiled. It got spoiled. It got spoiled, okay? Oh. Yes, someone did say about the Dark Viper praising. Let's go! Dude. Dude, it's funny. This guy is like, he's dead to me. Okay? Dark Viper's dead to me. His AIDS-riddled corpse doesn't really feature on my mind that much anymore, to be honest. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to praise, Dark Viper for, the react shit. I mean, Dark Viper is like a hyper-autistic freak whose hyperfixation became react content and he couldn't possibly give her any ground or be wrong. So he just became totally deranged about it. But anyway.
The practice of creators basically re-uploading the hard work of others without any tangible contribution.
Yeah, and that's happening to your video. Jimmy. We're re-uploading this. You've taken it down because you're so embarrassed about it. But we're going to make sure everyone sees it. We're going to make sure everyone has a little look at how fucking retarded you are, dude.
Effectively, while some YouTubers will work hard or pay money and spend the time hiring others to increase their output, reactors will simply use the videos produced by their competitors in the market to skip over that process. They avoid the time spent working and managing, as well as the financial expense, but end up with the same end products.
But when Ethan gave his 2 cents on this topic, ironically in a lazy react video.
Oh my god, can I skip this? I can't rehash this. I have to skip this. I gotta skip you. I gotta skip you again.
I just skipped like 5 minutes.
You guys annoying me.
Well, that would actually probably please Dark Viper because he's very autistic about including the whole video. So I don't know what the problem is here.
Let me just skip forward again. I can't, guys, I can't do it anymore. I can't watch this anymore.
He proceeded to completely ignore this point, and instead he just screamed free speech a lot.
It doesn't matter if somebody's getting exposure. It doesn't matter about impressions. We're talking about free speech. It's free speech. You don't need consent for speech. Commentary is speech.
Bro, the clear point that Ethan is making here, which obviously I'm going to agree with, is that someone responding to you, right, is an important part of the dynamic that we've created on YouTube, right? And so to be so autistic about certain details, like including the whole video, there's a point to be made if you sit there and you watch a 2-hour-long video that someone has meticulously, I use that word carefully, meticulously edited, and you do this. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point, isn't it? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and you just constantly reaffirm and assert that you agree with the video, you know, periodically interject with little trivial details, and the 2-hour video becomes 2-hour 10 videos in a reaction, right? I get that, right? There's a much stronger argument that, you know, you are not meaningfully transforming what's happening. But if you are like adding to it, particularly if you're criticizing it and you're disagreeing and you're making points contrary to the point that's being made, then I think the point Ethan's making is, yeah, that should be protected, because otherwise people will, you know, use these tools to strike down you, not because they genuinely think their copyright is being breached, but because they don't like the fact that you're shitting on them. They don't like the fact that you're, you know, mocking them or critically engaging with what they're saying, you know? And obviously Dark Viper's trick is to create this dynamic where you either respond to what you either respond to what he says, but then he can claim that you're taking him out of context. But if you do want to react and talk about his content and criticize him, he'll strike you. And then, you know, I think his goal with me was hoping that I'd take it further so you could engage in some sort of retarded copyright battle over a fucking 10K view video that was 45 minutes long. I think it was 45 minutes. 35 or 45 minutes long on a 10-minute stream segment that he put onto YouTube. So, you know, like he clearly, I don't think he really fucking thought it was copyright infringement. He just wanted the fucking crusade to center around, you know? But yeah. I thought we disliked that Ethan wasn't for fair use anymore at the start of the video, and that he liked Ethan's old React videos. Weird how he's sucking off Dark Viper now. But yeah, it's quite clear that he's saying that he believes in free speech, and he supports the idea of React videos on the basis that you are engaging in speech against what the person is saying. I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying. Because when he looked at XQC's videos, I think he was critical of XQC for the exact reason that he wasn't contributing, he wasn't commentating, and he barely made the video runtime longer, therefore not meaningfully transforming it. And that's why it's such a big issue with XQC. Like, it seems quite obvious what his thoughts are on this and what his perspective is if you just think about it for a few moments.
Free speech. Free speech, it's speech, bro. This guy is advocating for basically stomping on free speech.
Like, he completely ignored that the point
Yes. Yes, and that's exactly what's happened with Dark Viper. Yes, correct. Ethan was right. Ethan was fucking correct about that.
Raised was about ethics and not legality. Also, that no one was talking about the kind of commentary that the H3 lawsuit centered around. But then, just a year later, Ethan confronted XQC for doing exactly what Dark Viper was talking about, abusing React content to just...
No, that's not true.
The GTA community jumps to threatening copyright takedowns when they get uploaded.
Dark Viper, thank you for the super chat. Dark Viper's standard is that anything that includes the original work is definitively in breach of copyright and not fair use. Which, if you look at it, isn't even fucking true. You know, you can still argue fair use even if you use the full work, right? It's obviously contextual. And studios have dictated, like movie studios have dictated the conversation about this. So that, I mean, I think if you had the fucking legal team, you could probably make the argument that a react to a full movie, if it was long enough, substantive enough, and transformative enough, could fall under fair use. But who the fuck is going to want to go up against Warner Brothers for that? Like, it's just not a non-starter, you know? But clearly Ethan doesn't see it that way. Ethan doesn't think that transformative, critical, or commentary reactions are, you know, definitive copyright issues or copyright breaches. And clearly with XQC, His point is, you're not reacting to the video, you're lazily watching it, therefore, that is likely in breach of copyright. Like, bro, this is all so simple and easy to understand. How is he not getting this? Did he not think for a moment, maybe there's something different about XQC's React that maybe made him have a different take on this, you know?
Just re-upload other people's work.
Let's say someone comes from your stream. They've watched you all day. They love you. They're a big fan. They watched you react to, let's say, Mr. Beast's new video. Okay? Yeah. And then they come to the homepage. And guess what they see there? Mr. Beast's new video. Do you think are they less likely or more likely to click his video after they saw it on your channel?
Mind you, in both cases, Ethan was just taking the popular stance at that time. Viper had received pushback for a poor use of hyperbole, so Ethan had joined everyone else in dogpiling and ignoring.
A poor use of hyperbole? Bro, what do you mean? He said that he said you should watch your drink around React streamers at a party, suggesting that React streamers were tantamount to rapists. Bro, just a poor use of hyperbole, guys. Dude, stuff like that, him not laying that out, okay. Make it seem pretty clear to me this is like a malicious aspect. Or you're trying to paint it in the way that makes Ethan look as bad as possible and the people that he's going up against look as good as possible. Because why would you not just say, so that people can make their own mind up? You know, obviously there's an element of wanting to influence people, but I think you should provide as full a context as possible. And you don't have to go into everything, obviously, but to say it's just hyperbole and not say what it was, I think because you know it sounds so bad, make it like pretty dishonest.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Thank you for the super chats.
How do I make money off depressed people?
Ignoring his points. But a year later, a viral tweet had criticized XQC's form of React content, which made public sentiment largely turn against this kind of content.
XQC's React content. I'm fairly certain that Ethan made it clear when he spoke about this that he still has got the same position about transformative content, okay? And he had a problem with the fact that XQC wasn't engaging in transformative content. And he had a problem with, you know, the fact he left the room when he was watching it. The fact that he, you know, wasn't actually saying anything about the video, just kind of nodding along to it, barely extending the runtime. Dude. It's so obvious if you followed any of this that Ethan specifically took issue with something wrong that XQC was doing. And he's trying to paint it as some absurd hypocrisy, and or that actually he was only doing it because public opinion turned against it.
In my opinion, these kinds of moments are just weird and are a really good example of why it's just unnecessary to comment on everything you hear about. There's also the fact that Ethan and Klein are known as heroes of free speech, ones who basically saved the future of creator-driven content. But now they're using lawsuits and threats to silence critics, namely the H3 stocks.
Listen. I think I'm sold on the idea that it's not just using lawsuits to silence critics. I thought it could be that at first. With what I've seen so far, I'm more on board with the idea this is actually legitimate and these people were actually going beyond just criticizing. The CPS thing, you can't necessarily pin to them, but they've definitely been supportive of that. And the idea that they were like sending the office docs around saying just in case you need it, you know, I still obviously want to see more of the full lawsuit. But I don't think that this subreddit was just criticism. I just don't believe that's a fair characterization. You know? And I think that also, it seems pretty clear to me, because I was obviously, again, skeptical about the copyright issue. But I think about the copyright striking of the subreddit. But I think that was seemingly him targeting clips that didn't provide commentary, which is probably a bit more like, I'm not sure about that. I think providing a 30-second clip without commentary, I don't know if I like the idea of going after that, say. But you could argue the toss about that, I guess. But specifically someone that is saying, you know, don't watch the original video, watch this instead. Don't give in the view. And on top of that as well, I've also now seen posts, since I spoke about that a few weeks ago, whenever it was. It wasn't just like clips either. There were people that were saying, how can I watch this segment without giving in the view, and they were providing alternatives to YouTube to watch full segments of the show. So that goes beyond just a clip, even. And you're trying to find ways to explicitly circumvent the person benefiting from the content in a way that doesn't provide commentary and states that. I think that you're engaging in breach of copyright, whether you like it or not. I think that's probably what's happening there. Because you are explicitly creating a market replacement and you're not meaningfully transforming the content or something like that. That's, you know. So yeah, I just think that the more I've heard about this, the more I'm kind of more like, okay, I can think Ethan's probably got a point here. I can kind of see where Ethan's coming from. You know? So yeah. I just think that this framing of it as just critics, you're massively downplaying the level of derangement and exactly what it is this snark community is doing. Now, in fairness to this guy, I think he recorded, filmed, and scripted this before the CPS thing happened. So in fairness, I don't think he knew about that. But I think there was enough writing on the wall that you would be more cautious in how you approach it and not just frame the snark people as critics. I think there's plenty of evidence that they have taken it to a level beyond just simple criticism.
Subreddit, where H3 have deployed copyright strikes to remove damning clips, despite these, in my opinion, falling under fair use. They're also pursuing lawsuits against the moderators and have even threatened to dox them.
I can't wait till I find out who the snarkers are, because I'm going to sue them. Get in line, baby. Oh, they should be worried. I know they're very paranoid. They should be. You'd be surprised how paranoid these snarkers are. The mods, anyway. The head snarkers.
Now, Ethan has denied that the latter was his intent, but either way.
Bro, look. I would agree if someone is just modding a subreddit, okay? They're an innocent party. They're maybe like the guard at Auschwitz or something. I don't know. In any case, there's probably someone that maybe is innocent in this. But if someone is taking it beyond just moderating and talking shit and is engaging in some of the behavior he's been showing, you know, I think that is not just criticism. And they are a legitimate target to go after in this way. Now, obviously, you shouldn't dox them, right? Obviously, I've still got some lines on that. But the idea that he's trying to go after them for potentially engaging in some extremely egregious behavior, I think it's fine. Depends on, you know, again, I'm still waiting for the full lawsuit. But some of the information that I've seen does seem to suggest that he's got a point to make, you know?
It's weird to gleefully celebrate that you as a celebrity are going to be exposing private citizens for having the audacity to disagree with you. And don't get me wrong, I don't like snark subreddits, which are entire...
Disagree with you? Can we stop the cope here? That this is just about disagreement. Bro, the way Ethan responds to disagreement is he throws out the video on stream and mocks them and shits on them. This is not just disagreement that he's got a problem with.
Forums dedicated to criticizing certain people, but that doesn't mean you should be using slap suits to silence them, especially when you're the free speech guy. And while Ethan will...
Is it a slap suit? Bro, how do you know? We've not even got public access to it yet. How could you possibly determine there's a fucking slap suit? What is he on about? Bro, the lawsuit's not available yet. Maybe you should wait until you read the lawsuit before you determine the nature of it. Hey, this is crazy. The fact that he's just hand-waving it away as a slap suit.
Claim that his reasons are more nuanced, they don't exactly have a history of responding to detractors rationally. For example, when an artist respectfully refused to work with Gila, saying that they couldn't be associated with their company, the duo blamed this on anti-Semitism being aimed at them because of Hassan.
When we talk about how serious the rise in anti-Semitism is, this is why it's scary for us. It's now so casual to just not want to associate with an Israeli just because I was born there. And this is the result of Hassan's type of activism.
When there's literally nothing in the message that you could possibly distort to be implying that.
Wait, hang on a sec. Dude, I'm pretty sure there's more context to this as well. I don't know if I delved into this particularly, but I'm fairly certain what happened here was it was someone they'd worked with before, and then all of a sudden they didn't want to work with them. And it was in the midst of the Israel-Palestine stuff and all the beef between Hassan and the fallout and shit like that. So, what other reason could there be? What else could, like...
There's literally...
The artist I wanted to collaborate with decided I can't be associated with because I'm Israeli. I followed him for years, always supported him, and I have original painting of his at my house. When we talk about how serious the rise in anti-Semitism, this is why it's scary for us. It's now so casual to just not want to associate on Israel just because I was born there. And on top of that as well, I think that it's like, you know, he's not saying that it's Hassan that specifically has caused this. He's saying that it's Hassan-style activism. He's saying that the things that Hassan say, and listen, you know, you could argue the toss on that. I mean, I think that there has been an increase in this kind of perspective off the back of a broader issue amongst the left. It's not just Hassan. You can maybe make it broader, say, but I see what the point he's trying to make is like, yeah, there has, I think, unquestionably been an increase in this sort of, you know, approach to Israeli people since the Israel-Palestine issue has occurred. I don't know. I just think that probably is true. I mean, when is this from as well? I don't know, dude. It just feels like we're really fucking sweat-lording over, you know, scrutinizing what Ethan is doing. And it's fine. You could even be critical of this. You could even say this is, you know, in bad taste because of how Israel-Palestine is going, dependent on when it happened. I don't know. There's plenty of criticism you can make of this. But I think the point that Ethan is making is reasonable, that this is likely because of fucking the kind of shit that Hassan advocates for, that it's like bad to associate with an Israeli. So I don't think the point he's making is like wrong on its face. It's just you need to argue the toss with it. But he's just kind of throwing it up and going, well, yeah, there's nothing to link this to Hassan, when that's not even what he said. He didn't say that it was because of Hassan directly. He said this is the kind of, you know, environment that Hassan's type of rhetoric creates.
Born there, and this is the result of Hassan's type of activism.
When there's literally nothing in the message that you could possibly distort to be implying that. Drawing that conclusion completely ignores the fact that 1, the H3 brand has become increasingly controversial to the point that some might consider it a brand risk, or that 2, they have a pattern now of going score
more controversial than when he said that about the comment about Ben Shapiro. More controversial than when he said he was going to redact the NRA conference. What are you on about, bro? The H3 podcast has had, you know, in the woke era even, numerous controversies, which has negatively impacted its brand. So if that was okay, like, why is it not okay now? If he's worked with him and known him for years? Well, it seems like there's a specific thing that's happened since then that he's going to be reacting to.
Earth with former collaborators, including making this kind of unfounded accusation against the artist. And it keeps getting worse, as in their podcast is now arguably doxing random Instagram commenters.
So this is
okay. I wouldn't call this doxing. I still think this is a really shitty and unnecessary thing to do, and it was off the back of like a very mild comment, all things considered. I don't think the comment was egregious enough to warrant this kind of like response. But anyway, I mean, you know, we are obviously past that now with the CPS shit. But, you know, this, I think, taking into account this is before the CPS stuff. Yeah, I think reasonable to be critical of this.
Joe, he left a message on Hila's Star David tattoo. He said, "I'm glad that phase is behind me. Enjoy hell," Joe said. On Star David, here he is. If anyone... Let's see if I know, can identify him at all.
Oh, that weenie truck he's in front of, that's in...
Is that right?
Yeah, it's...
owns the truck?
It's at museum, yeah.
Look, I hate hell being used as a threat as much as anyone, but you...
Doxing equals bringing up somebody's social media profile for commenting negatively on your social media post. I mean, yeah, it's not doxing. I still think that it was, you know... It's like brigading or something. I don't know. It's like it's a shitty and scummy thing to do, and it was unnecessary. But I feel like, you know, yeah. I don't know. That's all I got to say on it, really. I think people have overstated this. Like, it's like, you know, if the criticism was, you know, it was unreasonable. I just feel like, you know, the situation is about a 10 in 10 in terms of intensity. So if you get involved, I find it hard to feel high levels of sympathy. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can see that. It's like, Ethan's obviously on a fucking knife's edge. And I think that making a comment like that is like, you know, you're playing with fire, but the consequence shouldn't be you get burnt to this level. That's how I'd look at that. Yeah, brigading or something like that. Yeah, you probably call it that. But in any case, should Ethan have done this? Probably not, but this is a war. You get involved, you could be shot. Get it? Jesus.
You are not going to convince me if this kind of behavior is okay coming from one of the biggest creators online towards a random comment with 2 likes.
I don't know if any of you guys know him, but...
Yeah, anyway, the point is, like, the thing I find difficult about this, and, you know, I have tried to be as balanced and fair as I can looking at this, as much as a meme, okay? I have genuinely tried to go, okay, what do I think? What do I find acceptable? What is too far? Etc., etc. And I've tried to kind of assess it all. But from like, and you know, some of the fucking Pro H3 people have been a bit irritating about it, okay? So yes, they can be irritating. I get that. But the snarker anti-side, the derangement is like, if you don't present it in the worst possible terms, they get so fucking upset with you. Right? And it's like they want it to be presented as, he just doxed and raped an innocent family on his stream. And it's like, well, I don't think it's that, I think it's this. But they want it to be the extreme criticism. Whereas if it was a bit more measured, and someone and the narrative from the anti-Ethan side was like, look, I think this is bad to do. I think it's reckless. I think you're bringing someone into it when the comment wasn't actually that egregious, etc., etc. I'd be more on board with that. I'd be like, that's a fair comment. Sure, I agree with that. But they want it to go to this extreme where he's got to be like a malicious doxer that wants to publish the addresses of all the Snark subreddit mods. And it's just not accurate. That's not what's happening. You know? And obviously, people that are anti-Ethan are not going to be gracious at all about it. But I'm willing to give a bit of grace, even if I disagree or don't like some of the behavior. That this guy's in like a fucking pressure cooker, right? And he's not only going up against people that are talking shit, he's then got these kind of insane narratives that, as we know now, led to the CPS call. To be fair, didn't know that at the time this video was made, right? And I think that, yeah, I can understand Ethan fucking up and making mistakes. And it's why before the recent round of drama with the CPS stuff, it's like, well, he probably should not get into this, you know? Like ruminating over Instagram comments. It's like, just fucking don't worry about this. Right? Call out like more explicit, like there's other comments which are definitely anti-Semitic, 100%. But this is not really across a line that I think you should go to this level with it. Like focus on that or move on and talk about something else, you know?
Certainly anyone who would employ him or probably even his parents would be pretty disappointed to see that, although who knows? Here's his mom. I'm not going to click that for her. No, you know what? Fuck him. Here's your mom. I wonder if she knows what you do on social media on your free time. You love your mama.
You sent your fans, your millions of fans to harass me and my family. Loser.
And Ethan has since...
Wait, what? This video is with... No, it's not. No, it's not. Nah, come on. It's not with the CPS context. You're wrong. You're lying. There's no way.
Doubled down, saying that the person deserves this because their comment was anti-Semitic. But the comment itself could have easily been referring to Ethan and Gila's behavior overall. While yes, they were getting plenty of other comments attacking their identity, there just isn't enough to make that claim with enough confidence to send hundreds of thousands of people after a random dude. Which brings me to one of their most bafflingly...
God, it's like you just told me that Bruce Willis is dead at the end of The Sixth Sense. It's like you just told me that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. It's like you just told me that Leonardo DiCaprio in Shutter Island is not actually law enforcement. He's a deranged psychotic that's actually in an advanced treatment and gets lobotomized. Bro, what are you doing?
Hypocritical patterns that requires a miraculous lack of self-awareness. See, Ethan has expressed repeatedly how much he hates that people are assigning the worst labels possible to him and Gila in order to justify harassing and attacking them.
And again, part of the irony of this whole thing is that on the left, they're basically willing to undermine everything they believe in at the behest of going after Zionists because they see this as subhuman, they see them as Nazis. They've given each other permission and consent and the green light to essentially target whoever they perceive as Zionists with whatever abuse they deem necessary.
Yes, bro. Correct. 100%. Up to and including calling the CPS on Ethan Klein. Like, bro, this is just true. This is what's happened on the left. It's correct. It's right. It's the fucking eldest. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Oh, God, I'm fucking... We're going to be sick. Is the Aldous Huxley quote.
Because they're Nazis and they're killing children. I find a lot of anti-Semitism, weird, obsessive harassment is pretty much 80% Hassan fans. Yeah, they're also calling me a Nazi for criticizing Elon Musk for being a Nazi. They call me a terrorist. Like, there's no limit to what these people will say.
Which, yeah, it makes sense that they would call this out. Yet Ethan will not hesitate to do the exact same thing, like going after the aforementioned Instagram user in a move that would never be considered okay coming from a creator, but justifying it by crying discrimination, or openly encouraging harassment against anyone that he either dislikes or just associates with someone that he dislikes by applying the same exact labels to them.
A lot of these people were Trisha fans just because they seem so focused on like the Zionism thing. And Trisha and Moses are like for real, for real. So I'm wondering, you know, I think Trisha's back on the menu.
Okay, I don't understand how this is like an equivalent concept here. He's talking about the idea that some of the people that are coming after him are Trisha fans, and that is somehow facilitating harassment. And by saying Trisha's back on the menu, what does that mean? Does he mean attack, attack, attack? Or does he mean I'm going to talk shit about Trisha again, even though we've had, I guess, some sort of truce, maybe? I don't know.
Let's see if we can get her back on the bathroom floor.
Why would you do this, Hassan? Really? The terrorist endorser? Shame.
I don't know why he even denied.
What's the bathroom floor thing? That sounds like shitty. But what's that about? What's going on there? Ethan, what are you doing, Ethan? What's this?
He's a supporter. I mean, stand on your shit. I stand on my shit.
Oh, but of course, it's different when they partake in behavior that they specifically call inexcusable because they're the good guys.
Yeah. I need to emphasize, and I guess I'll continue emphasizing, we are all...
Wait, what?
Behavior that they specifically call inexcusable because they're the good guys.
So this motherfucker edited this together with the narratives that he's tried to push and the stories he's trying to spin, fully knowing that this subreddit is called Child Protective Services on them. These people are fucking insane, dude. What has happened? What has happened to people's brains? They don't go look at that and go, oh, I think I'll have to write this off. This seems like maybe a bad video to make with this now considered. So he's still trying to paint the snark people as just critics, knowing that their actions have at the very least, contributed to a narrative that has led to someone calling CPS on them, arguably someone from within that community or another hater community. That's the best I think you can present it as. Okay, that's... No wonder he took this video down. No wonder. And also, bro, he put it out with the title, The Unraveling of H3 Productions. Now, if he stood by that, fine, but he recognised it was wrong because he changed it. He must have realised how fucking deranged it sounded. Oh my God, dude. What is wrong with people, eh? I think you can still put a video like this out. I just think it's crazy that you've spun this narrative that is so critical of Ethan without doing any ground to, well, let's look at the snark. What are they doing? What specific behavior have they engaged in? What are the actual criticisms that are made of this community? You could do a very good video about this and you could point out, look, Ethan has fucked up here, 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 but I think you need to bear in mind, here's some of the things that Snark are doing, and you could kind of leave it in a make your own mind up type perspective, you know, present both sides fairly. You know, here's their grievances, here's their actions, here's this person's grievances, here's their actions. And I think then you could even leave a down the middle video with which people to make their own mind up. You know, I accept that I'm very obviously, you know, biased about the CPS thing.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Because maybe because I'm a parent, I think it's totally deranged and inexcusable. But you could even still make the video like that. And you could just say, look, with everything that's been said, this crosses a line for me. You could even include it that way and still point out that, you know, maybe there's some grievances of Ethan that are still reasonable. But it just seems like you've done everything you can to, at every point, shit on Ethan, where there's plenty of reasonable ground you can grant him, and you can be at least critical of what the other side is doing. And he knew about the CPS thing. Dude. You should make that video. I am. Every day I'm making that fucking video talking about this shit.
I need to emphasize, and I guess I'll continue emphasizing, we are all... everyone in this room is the good guy. While moderators say they're facing doxing threats. Yeah, I mean, they're like, the mods are the bad guys, the poor... What is with these people?
Yeah, it's not troubling at all that they seem to be well past the point of worrying about going too far. Also, now that their behavior has been getting more mainstream attention, they're just throwing out conspiracy theories in response to any criticism.
I wonder if Hassan hired VR.
I suspect he did, because at the same time, all these puff pieces came out.
Yeah, that is also like puffing him up and attack.
Is that a conspiracy theory? Is it a conspiracy theory to suggest that it's possible that a celebrity has hired a PR team because they've got a lot of concurrent positive coverage that's coming out? I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. You are making an assertion based on a reasonable understanding of how celebrities act. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. You're speculating, exactly. It's like, it's not completely unfeasible. Like, you probably could, dude. Like, do you see what I mean? Everything is framed in the worst possible fashion. You can still be critical of that, but framing it as a conspiracy theory is crazy. Like, it's a reasonable thought process.
It was suggested to me that it could potentially be Twitch, too. I don't know. Our Twitch stream, which we were rebroadcasting the content nuke from, got banned, suspended for 30 days for broadcast.
I mean, yeah, this falls more into the realms of, like... Again, I guess it's plausible, but it's much less believable to me that it was directly Hassan that did it. The thing that I can't quite rationalize with the Twitch stuff is, how did it get rejected so quickly, only to then get overturned? It's like a very bizarre series of events. Normally, there's like a second line decision that's made on a decision, like on the ban decision, and then it gets overturned at that point. So the fact it got knocked back, and then later it got overturned, I can't really understand how that happened. So, yeah, sure, maybe it wasn't Hassan directly, but there was some fuckery going on that I can't really conceive of in how the ban came about and then he was unbanned.
Extremism and promoting terrorism, which is like the greatest outcome I could have hoped for from that.
Though, of course, as soon as anyone else does this kind of speculation...
They botted the video immediately. Lol is at 2.5k dislikes.
Who's they? What are you talking about, man?
And it's funny because Ethan keeps saying that he has proof of the Reddit mods engaging...
So, with the Twitch thing, there is a unusual occurrence that isn't explained by, like, conventional logic of how it works, right? But with the Hassan example, the reason that Hassan's claim is more bizarre or unbelievable is because it just seems more absurd that there's some sort of dislike bot thing happening. Why would there be a dislike bot? But nonetheless. Hey, Leonardbox, thank you for the raid. Hope you're well. Appreciate it. We're just A-logging and you know, detracting against... Well, I don't know. We're just covering this. Bro, I've literally covered Ethan all stream, dude. I need to take a break from Ethan content after today. Unless something drastic happens. I'm not even going to get to the Amaranth stuff today like I thought I was going to. But anyway, I mean, you know, you could argue the toss about this. You could argue the toss and you could say that, oh, bro, there is actually some trans tent that's going to be fucking banging. You know Solari? Solari's put out a video about playing as a woman in video games. I'm literally licking my lips about covering that, and not for the reasons you think, okay?
behavior that warrants this escalating to lawsuits.
How irresponsibly pathetic can you be as a journalist to accuse me, to platform this saying I'm doing conspiracy theories when I've literally said that I have evidence of them doing illegal shit, targeting me for being Jewish mostly.
But based on everything going on, you tell me if you trust his judgment on this without seeing the evidence for yourself. And what's sad is back in 2017, Ethan was a—
Well, no, you don't have to, okay. You don't have to trust his judgment on it. You can want to wait for the lawsuit. You can even not be convinced by what he showed in his video, right? But this guy seems intent on disbelieving and going so hard against him, rather than just having the balanced take of just, hey, we don't know exactly what it is. Let's wait for more information before we decide. Like, this video is very clearly just, you know, an anti-Ethan video. And it's funny that you mentioned earlier about public favor turning against him. I get a feeling like this video is somewhat that too. I feel like this is a product of public opinion turning against Ethan in some factor and wanting to capitalize on that, but then misjudging it and not realizing that you're going to get a lot of backlash and then deleting it. I don't know.
Acutely aware of how careful you have to be when punching down after you grow a following.
It's so easy to shoot up, right? To punch up. When we were coming up on YouTube, we could talk, say anything about anyone, and like you don't feel the sense of responsibility. You don't feel so much.
Dude, all this punching up, punching down shit, all it makes me think about is, yes, you hate the rich, but do you have the courage to hate the poor? That is my new mentality. And that is why I think it's good that the Labour Party are stripping away benefits for all the disabled.
The consequence of what you're saying, because you're just some guy. But when you're on top and you become the guy that everyone has that attitude about, it definitely affects you.
All this to say that H3 has increasingly shifted their reputation for the worst in recent years and have alienated much of their audience in doing so. Not to mention have burned bridges
in recent years. Bro, this is just ahistorical. When he deleted the Jordan Peterson interview, and Jordan Peterson directly commented on it and said something which turned out to be more true than we could have realized, all of the fucking righties jumped ship. All the people that he cultivated, all the fucking skeptic types, all the people that hated the SJW shit, right? They immediately were like, this guy sucks. I can't believe he's done this. He's turned woke. This idea, like, this is a new thing, is false. He's done this before. And I don't know his full background. He's probably done it more than that as well. But definitively, when he had his turn where he said, right, I'm deleting the Jordan Peterson interview. It's too hateful. I'm going woke now, to paraphrase. All the righties left. To this day, there are righties that hate him for that. And that's where you get comments like the quartering where he's like, I hate this guy, but the CPS thing is too much.
Plenty of other creators.
You have everything you could want, and you spend every day sitting on the internet crying and whining and moaning. Get offline and get your mental health in order. You have absolutely lost it. And don't...
Bro! Okay, dude. First of all, it's like if a smaller creator wants to talk shit, then you're in your right to respond if you want to. A lot of the time, it's best just to ignore a small shitter. But this guy's got a fairly decent platform, I think. And also, no comment on this obviously bogus concern trolling bullshit where these people go, oh, you should get offline for your mental health. What about that? That's like obviously bullshit. He obviously doesn't give two fucks about his mental health. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying you have to shit on this guy, but there's like no scrutiny of anyone that is going up against Ethan. It is all just, all of Ethan's fucking critics are correct, actually, and
wonderful.
They're just critics.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
All they have to do is just stop being poor. It's that easy.
Exactly, yes, that's what I was thinking. Thank you, Catsy Flocken, for the $15 Canadian. That's super generous, thank you.
Don't you dare ever disrespect creators for or any other charity again.
We have been invited on more than one occasion to be on the H3 podcast. And we have kind of never responded because we're like, well, I don't want our going on that podcast to be us saying that the things on this podcast are what we endorse.
He has said some.
Bro, I don't know who these guys are. I think I maybe recognize them from somewhere. It's like showing these clips where they sound more reasonable. What about the fucking deranged shit these types of people have said? They've said some crazy shit about Ethan. And they're just showing, you know, the most unobjectionable clips of them being reasonable. The other guy maybe more so. Who are these? The try guys? The try gays? Try gay sex guys. Okay.
really wildly hateful things about Palestinian supporters.
I found out that Ethan has something like 6 different sound effects of me on his podcast.
Oh, cry more, you fucking bitch. Bro, he's already playing this clip of this fucking loser joke of a human being crying about Ethan Klein using the sound clips. There's no way, bro. He's actually unironically broadcasting this in his shitty video.
To mock me as a regular thing for years.
Good.
I don't know how sick of an individual you have to be to do something like this.
Yeah.
Anissa and Ian. Yeah. Thanks, Anissa, for standing up for your girl. I actually stood up for you so many times, because, like, why would I not? But now you choose to hang out with people that would have a problem with you if you defended me.
Mind you, I'm going over the most clear-cut examples of this, but there are countless examples of these moments over the past year, to the point that it's being referred to as Ethan's year-long crash out. Now, of course, this change in behavior most likely stems from factors like money, politics, and their personal life.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, that clip is from the, yeah, it is, isn't it? It's from the stream. Bro, they fucked up my fucking thing here. How do I get it so... Oh, hang on. Short and long messages. There we go. That should do it. What did you just say? Oh, 14 pages!
Lives. But I said that H3's shift to lazier content was a significant factor. What's more, I called it a trap that could land...
Yeah, it's like you know, you watch the CPS stream and you just completely disregard the fact they've had the CPS called on them and you hyper-focus in on, oh, what about this comment you made about Anissa? Bro, are you not going to make any... Is there any commentary this guy's going to make about a CPS thing? Bro, why are any of these people incapable of just saying the CPS thing was really fucking bad and shouldn't have happened? Anissa earlier and iDubbbz earlier. This guy now makes a video knowing that and doesn't seem to give any criticism of it. Maybe later he does. It just seems like quite an important point to demonstrate the severity of the kind of war that's happened, even if you want to criticize Ethan, that you should probably point out the other side has done something utterly fucking deranged in all of this. And even if you can't say, well, it's this particular group that's done it, the response to it is worthy of criticism too, because they're apologizing and justifying it in some way.
And any creator into this position. What did I mean? Well, like I had mentioned, the quantity of content is a very significant component, to the point that there's a whole subreddit dedicated to live stream mishaps since they're just so common. But I think what makes this much worse is a very specific kind of feedback loop. See, for creators, comments are arguably the most significant form of engagement. If you think about it, it's really the only one that's not just a number. It's an idea, a thought, a response. And while creators will often talk about how negative comments can affect them, the opposite is also true. Creators receive a lot of praise from people that follow them, and that praise can feel good. Not to mention make someone more confident in whatever the compliments are aimed at. I mean, even I shifted my content to focus more on media analysis because of comments telling me I was good at it. So for creators making opinion-based content,
you probably suck at that too, you fucking retard. You probably absolutely trash at that as well, I would wager, based on this video. Media analysis. Bro, dude, I've watched one of this guy's videos, so I was okay. Now I despise him. Now I literally hate him. I literally despise this guy because he's made such a shit video. This guy, the only thing that would allow me to be more, you know, okay, fair enough, is if he makes some comment and goes and explains why he took this down. The fact that he's taken it down and not said anything about it, as far as I'm aware, is crazy. Could be wrong about that. But I've not seen any comment on this or any sort of like response to the fact he's taken it down.
It's not crazy to think that they would become more and more empowered in thinking that their opinions are the right ones. And for how this applies to H3, just look at how hard they've steered into political content despite their knowledge in this area being spotty at best.
I've even heard they want to repeal
Oh my god, dude. He misspoke on a live show about a fucking particular thing. Oh my god. Bro, these are all lit, bro. This is what's happened. He's looked at the Snark subreddit and he's taken it all from there. It's so clear. The things he's presenting are directly from the Snark community presenting things in certain ways. This is like such a nothing thing to happen. People misunderstanding or not stating something correctly. It's like nothing. And it happens to everyone. Anyone that does a live show states something that is wrong.
Roe versus what? Is that the gay one?
No,
that's
Roe's
abortion. Roe's way has
abortion,
been overturned.
Yeah,
You're talking about gay rights?
Yeah, they want to
You're talking about
overturn the
Oberfell.
Oh, Oberfell.
But this echo chamber becomes a lot worse for creators who focus on takedown content. See, if your output focuses on the unethical behavior of others, then guess what? Their fans aren't going to appreciate that. And if you're taking special aim at creators known for being especially problematic, they likely come with an equally toxic audience. An audience that's going to attack you in swarms without any regards for the point you're making. In other words, your new norm becomes insincere attacks that you quite literally have to block out for the sake of your own sanity.
Also, the other thing with something like that is, like, what it's obviously great to get things right all the time when you speak, okay, which isn't possible for anyone, but by the by, in that clip, he clearly is uncertain and is stating it with uncertainty because he doesn't want to say something that's wrong. Like, that's good that he at least self-recognizes that maybe I haven't got this quite right, and he's willing to be corrected on it too, right? So at least shows there's some self-awareness there. And it's like just such a nothing thing. Oh, he got the fucking exact court decision wrong. It's literally just such a irrelevant and pointless criticism that doesn't really meaningfully change anything. It's just something that you can be very snarky about, hence the name, to go after and act like something substantively wrong has happened there to criticize.
But doing so comes with a massive catch, because if those insincere attacks turn into genuine feedback and criticism, how are you supposed to know exactly when that switch is flipped? You're so used to having to only listen to the people who say how great you are that you slowly alienate more and more of your audience by refusing to consider them once they start to question you. And if this sounds like I'm making something up or I'm basically speculating, just look at Nick Green. See, Nick is Not Green is arguably someone who had the same exact arc as H3, but—
What? Oh my god, what is he on about? This is just wrong. What the fuck is this guy on about? There's no similarity at all.
But much more quickly and dramatically, where he got his start by making fun of content through a left-wing lens, and this was often focused on content that he personally objected to, like content that aimed to put down women.
Like, I'm not saying like you can't bring value to each other, like you work together, like sometimes a woman is your secretary if you're working somewhere, or like—
Bro, total retard logic. If you think about it, Ethan Klein and Nick Is Not Green are the same.
You're working, whatever.
Oh, so you can talk to a woman if she's your personal secretary, but not if she's not paid to be near you.
Or creator.
Bro, it's also, bro, it's such bullshit. The reason it's such bullshit, having covered the leftovers controversy and all that stuff quite extensively, I'm fucking, it's obvious that the thing that lit the tinderbox was Ethan's Klein original take on October 7th that he was deeply uncomfortable with lefties celebrating it, and he thought that the murder of innocent civilians was bad, and this led to a lot of backlash from lefties against him. That was the thing. The difference with Nick Is Not Green, there was already some sensitivity and issues with Nick Is Not Green because of the Sneeko thing, where he'd kind of advocated for reporting his channel. He'd stated how to report his channel, right? And people were like, you can not like Sneeko. You could even think his channel should be banned, but you shouldn't play around with here's how you can report the channel. And then it was after that he then did this fucking insane decision to affirm and back up allegations that were made off the back of things that his friends said about it to him. And then it turned out that it was wrong, and there was lies, and there was dishonesty, and he had to spend a long time overcoming that, and he was doubling down for a bit. Eventually he said, I'm sorry for that. And he had to do a couple of apologies until people, I think, maybe just accepted that, okay, I may not like this guy and I don't trust him, but at least he recognizes how wrong he was, right? Something like that. But the core issue of what caused this turn was a lot more egregious when Nick Is Not Green was involved. It was clearly wrong in terms of how he operated over the super mega allegation. Whereas I don't think the thing that was the tinderbox lighting for Ethan is comparable to that. So it's just a bizarre and retarded comparison to two situations that just aren't the same.
that were straight up dangerous, like Sneeko.
Now, I don't think I have to explain why this is disgusting. Sneeko is harassing a female content creator, telling her that the reason why she's so upset is because she hasn't had sex in a while, and then he proceeds to aggressively simulate a sexual assault on Chud in his live stream in front of thousands of people.
So unsurprisingly, Nick became hated by right-wing creators and their fans, which led to him receiving countless misogynistic and racist comments on whatever he posted.
I am absolutely not a stranger to hate campaigns like this. I have dealt with months of hate following my coverage on stories like Sneeko, where I was harassed endlessly for uplifting the voices of victims who are attacked just like this.
But eventually, Nick started to shift his focus to lazier content, even by his own admission.
You guys know that I make these videos like...
Bro, it wasn't to do with lazy content. Bro, this is like a retarded slop argument. Retarded, he went to slop. It was nothing to do with slop. It was his decision to affirm bogus allegations that his friends had made. The lazy content is this fucking retard not even looking into any of this and understanding what the problems were. Bro, I fucking hate these video essayists that they're fucking above everyone else and they get basic details wrong about the story. Or they just engage in very surface level analysis that doesn't get into the depth of why someone had the problems that they did.
The same day, like I wake up and then I make the video and put it out right away.
And because the frequency of his output suddenly rose so rapidly, it left even less of an opportunity for him to consider any feedback. I mean, by the time the audience is responding to one video, he's already moved on to the next, and he eventually admitted that he no longer trusted that his comments represented sincere feedback from his viewers.
Listen, I have no gauge of how you feel about me. I know the comments aren't a very realistic depiction of my actual audience in the way that the greater viewer base on YouTube feels about me.
So eventually, Nick found himself at the center of a major conflict between his friends and the YouTubers behind Super Mega. And long story short, I've already covered this twice, Nick's friend faced swarms of backlash from mischaracterizing events and using unrelated trauma as a gotcha against Super Mega. And because Nick made several videos on the topic where he basically did what he was now accustomed to, rushing the videos out.
Now, if I were to go back...
Bro, this is like, dude. This is like key information. Key information that he's missing out here is the fact that he did it because they were friends. It wasn't just a product of him being lazy. He made a specific choice to back up and affirm his friend's story.
And change anything. I do think I should have waited until Matt and Ryan responded to everything before talking about it. If you know my channel, especially at that time, I was posting constantly and I was always trying to be the quickest one to get to a story.
Repeating hearsay as fact and callously discussing very sensitive topics,
Yes, they basically, yeah. He was asked by them to make a video about it and he did, then regretted it. Dude. This guy is like just clueless. He's got no idea about any of the shit he's fucking talked about for much of this video. Missing out key details, key context. Yeah, you can see why he deleted it. I mean, the best thing he did is delete the video. Next, he's got to delete his entire fucking channel because he's a moron.
Left a bad taste in the mouth of his viewers. But remember, he was used to having to assume the worst of his critics, so he quite literally quintupled down on his coverage and lost swarms of his audience before he course corrected.
This is the 5th time I've responded to this, and every single time before this I have done or said things that have made my actions even more harmful.
Like, he's lost over 200,000 subscribers across 2 channels that were both under 1 million subs. And when he finally did face the criticism, his reasoning for initially refusing to is exactly what I described.
I wrote off any of the criticism, basically saying that the people who were making videos about me weren't credible sources in my eyes. They were responding in bad faith. And this isn't something that I have only done in this situation, but it's something that I've done during my past few years on YouTube.
I don't think, to my knowledge, I don't think Ethan has ever, like, fucked up as badly as he needs to do this. I think that he's done things in the moment that he thought were correct based on his political concept there that he later regrets that he apologizes for. You know, like the Jordan Peterson interview is probably an example of that. But then your view on that is going to be determinant on what your ideological perspective is. Whereas with Nick is Not Green, I think even people that were supportive of Lex initially, or even people that are against, you know, rape. Wait, that sounds like there's a pro-rape community out there. That's my community, okay? But no, it's like, it doesn't matter where you really land on it. You can see the issues with what he did. Whereas whether or not you think Jordan Peterson deleting, Ethan deleting the Jordan Peterson video is good or bad is going to be dependent on your political ideology or how you view Jordan Peterson, you know? And I don't think it's quite that, like, one side or the other with this. It's like, it's broadly agreed that he did wrong, you know, even if you're like an anti-rape individual.
I never really took a fair look at what people were saying about me online because whenever I saw the most aggressive comments, I ignored everything else.
Though it is worth noting that Nick dedicated himself to being more ethical going forward and has done a complete 180 in terms of both upload content and consistency. And honestly, it's a great change to see. Maybe others should start taking some notes, right? Others who have already put away exponentially more money than Nick and absolutely don't need to be making slop content daily. But unfortunately, it seems like Ethan and Hila are
Also, slop content daily. Ethan streams like, what, a few times a week, I think? It's annoying sometimes because there's times where I'm like, oh, he's going to respond to something and I got some content and he just doesn't. And I'm like, okay, he's not streaming today. It's not daily. Like, bro, he's getting like just basic details about his schedule wrong.
Continuing to move in the opposite direction, as they've begun to make it clear that they do not plan on differentiating between the masses that are criticizing them across the various subreddits and the extremists that are making this dangerous.
This is probably the most f***ed up thing that these people could do. And it's put me and Hila in the headspace of just, the gloves are off at this point.
Bear in mind, I'm pretty sure here Ethan is talking about the CPS getting called on him. How did he frame this?
But unfortunately, it seems like Ethan and Hila are continuing to move in the opposite direction, as they've begun to make it clear that they do not plan on differentiating between the masses that are criticizing them across the various subreddits and the extremists that are making this dangerous.
This is probably the most f***ed up thing that these people could do.
The problem is that there's many people that you're framing as critics that are justifying this. So, how are you supposed to differentiate between the extremists and the critics, where the critics that you're referring to are saying it's either good, downplaying it, acting like it's not a big deal, acting like it doesn't matter that the kids are potentially going to be traumatized by this, right? There are still good criticisms, I'm sure, out there, but from Ethan's perspective, why has he got to fucking take effort and time to discern that when the people that you're saying are critics are justifying this behavior?
And it's put me and Hila in the headspace of just, the gloves are off at this point, and you guys will see the effects of that as we move forward through this. But I make no apology. And I will do everything that I can to hold any of these people to justice in any possible way that I can. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to be happening.
And again, if there's maybe less than 1% of people who are in the snark because they feel like they're wrongfully banned or whatever the hell it is, you need to understand that what you're a part of is more than just something that is claiming to be pro-Palestine. It is literally meant to push people to suicide, to be honest.
And it's not like they're saying mean stuff. Nobody would care if they were just saying mean stuff. Like they're trying to interfere with our lives.
Bro, he's even making the distinction here. The mean stuff is not the issue. It is specifically the attempt to interfere with the life that is a problem. I think that's a pretty fair distinction.
Personally, each and every one of us.
Because, let's be clear, Ethan and Hila have always had to deal with their strongest detractors taking things way too far and putting their lives in danger.
So, you guys know that we've been swatted.
It's absolutely insane that he's including that clip whilst, you know, mentioning the extremists, which is dishonest, by the way. This idea that it's just extremists, when the broad perspective on the fucking snark community subreddit is, you know, at best to what? Like, deny that it's anything to do with them, all the way through to apologizing for it, and all the way to saying it was good actually, and they deserved it.
Victim of swatting. That's why we moved to this house. It happened several times.
And most recently, this included somebody filing a false report with CPS.
This morning, we got a visit from Child Protective Services. An anonymous call went into them on the 3rd, saying that they were somebody that works at the house, and they wanted to report us because our kids are crawling around eating dog shit and getting viruses.
However, when someone in one of the snark Reddits tried to celebrate this, the comments were universally panning this within minutes, because most of the content of these forums are criticisms, even if they do become a bit obsessive. Now, at one point...
Well, hang on a sec. No. Wait a second. That's not what's happening there. You're wrong. People aren't saying it's wrong to call CPS. They're saying that you're intentionally posting this to make us look bad. Look.
Of these
They're saying it's a psyop. They're not saying this is wrong, you shouldn't say this. They're claiming it's a psyop. And it could be a psyop. But there's a difference between saying you're fed posting, you're doing this intentionally to make us look bad, and saying this is wrong regardless.
Viruses.
However, when someone in one of the snark Reddits tried to celebrate this, the comments were universally panning this within...
And also, I agree, this could be a psyop. This could be some stupid person that is playing a game. But it wasn't moderated. This comment wasn't moderated. It stayed up. It stayed up. And I don't know if it's still there now, but it wasn't taken down. So, at best, it's poorly moderated. At worst, stuff like that is being allowed to stay up. Even if it's a joke, it's very likely to be like a breach of Reddit's rules.
Minutes, because most of the content of these forums are criticisms, even if they do become a bit obsessive. Now, at one point...
A bit obsessive, bro. Just a bit obsessive. The downplaying is fucking insane, bro. A bit obsessive. The entire point of it is to endlessly post negative commentary about someone. It's endlessly obsessive. Obsessiveness is all it is. Where's the non-obsessive posting? Where's the posts of a reasonable analysis or a fair shake of what is going on? Where is anyone going, this seems a bit excessive, or, something like that? This guy's a total freak. I can't believe he has not given any sort of like fair or balanced perspective on this. It is just completely siding with the fucking insane snarkers.
H3 pulls up a post on one of the snark subreddits explaining that CPS reports are anonymous, meaning there is no evidence linking it to Reddit, let alone proof that the forum is encouraging this behavior. Because, as we've seen, H3 has developed a habit of arriving at a conclusion and acting on it without restraint, despite not having the evidence to
Okay, even if it's not possible, it is impossible to prove where it came from. I agree with that. However, if you look at the initial response when it happened, it was very clear. It was not, let's condemn this. It was, let's do apologia for this. Let's find a way to wink and nod that something's anonymous. Exactly what that post was doing there, right? So, I agree with you, and I don't think you can prove it's directly from the subreddit. Also, the other problem with this too, right? How do you prove that it's from a fucking subreddit, right? I think the fairest way of looking at it is it's likely someone from within one of those hate communities, right? Someone from Denim's chat or Hassan's chat or fucking from one of the subreddits, right? I don't think you're going to get like a card-carrying member of the subreddit having done it, right? It's always going to be a bit uncertain about who it is unless someone just comes out plainly and says it. So I think that the issue you're going to have is all you can really do is discern where you think it likely came from. And even if we can't prove it came from there, I think you can reasonably assess that it likely did from one of these communities at least. And what does it speak to on the culture of the subreddit if there's not an immediate disavowal and a communication of this has gone too far, you shouldn't do this, right?
Back up this confidence, which they also did in response to the post in question by repeatedly saying it was promoting this method.
It could be a complete psyop, false flag, like a H3 fan has done it, right? That's one possibility, very slim. Other than that, it seems to me it's likely to be a hater or a random chaos agent who is just watching from the sidelines. Kind of like swatters. You get swatters that aren't meaningfully involved in whatever the drama is, but they just decide to swat someone, right? But the reason I think that isn't as likely, even though it's possible, is because with swatting, the point is that you enjoy the process of reporting them and the SWAT officers coming out and the brouhaha that causes and all that stuff. There's a specific sick pleasure that people elicit from the swatting process, right? Like the body cam footage or a stream being interrupted or something like that. It just seems unbelievable to me that a random chaos agent that is going to enjoy doing swatting is going to think, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll push a narrative that is being pushed across all of these communities in a way that, you know, I don't think would necessarily elicit that same pleasure. I can't imagine. Now, I don't know. I'm not a fucking weirdo who wants to swat people, but it just there's a possibility there. It just seems unlikely that that would be the case. Someone, the kind of person that would enjoy a swatting would get something out of this. I guess maybe them talking about it. Maybe they're watching like, oh yeah, he's talking about me phoning CPS. I don't hate the guy. I think it's funny to watch him struggle under the pressure of it. Just seems that it's likely someone from within these communities, you know, somewhere or another has seen this narrative and has decided to take some action maliciously to fight with Ethan.
Of harassment.
They're posting that making CPS reports are anonymous.
So they're promoting doing it?
How is this not breaking the rules?
Yeah.
How is this allowed on Reddit?
That's crazy.
2 hours, no moderation. And it has 200 points. Guys, please mass report this. This is just such a fucking disgusting, blatant violation. No. This is a serious fucking issue. Like this is not. This has to be dealt with. This is not normal.
When there is nothing in the post that remotely suggests that someone should do this. Think for a moment about how...
Oh my god, dude. This guy is a fucking low IQ cretinous, disgusting freak, man. When you say, just wanted to remind everyone, whether you're a fan or a snarker, that Child Protective Service reports are all anonymous and confidential, okay? You're not explicitly stating it. You're saying it with a nod and a wink. You're reminding people that you can do this too. Okay? Like, you can say it's not explicit. You could even be critical of Ethan for saying it's more explicit than it is. Like, for example, here, he says, encouraging people to make fraudulent CPS calls. You could take issue with his language here if you want. But the idea that it contains nothing is wrong. There's an allusion to it. There is an implication. It's about the implication.
This has to be dealt with. This is not normal.
When there is nothing in the post that remotely suggests that someone should do this. Think for a moment about how much I dissect the exact words that people use. I have no problem calling a spade, but what they're saying just isn't true. It's exactly what I'm describing, equating restrained criticism to the behavior that absolutely does cross the line.
Because this subreddit has painted a narrative that has at very least led to this outcome. What do you mean? Bro, he's acting like these snark subreddits are just places where they offer fair criticism. He's acting like it's just a normal subreddit where they're like, oh, I don't like this, and there's disagreement, and there's like, oh, I think this about that, and da-da-da-da. That's not what it is. It's an entire community dedicated to just endlessly hitting on someone at every single fucking turn. He's just painting it as this bizarre framing. Is it some sort of just a critical thing? It's not. They're fucking deranged. There's a reason these fucking subreddits often get taken down, because they end up with extreme consequences like this.
What's more, the CPS agent himself had expressed...
Yeah, exactly. Where are the posts on Snark saying, okay guys, I get we all hate Ethan, but just in case this is one of us, let's remind everyone we shouldn't do this type of stuff and it's over the line. Exactly. Why aren't there posts like that? Why aren't there posts of people, just normal people going, oh, this is a bit rich for my blood? They don't exist, because the entire point of the subreddit is to fucking endlessly go after this guy.
That the report was most likely filed by someone that knew them personally, though Ethan doesn't even consider the possibility.
They were able to provide...
Oh, wow! Wow, the community of people that fucking hate you. You're not willing to be gracious towards them, though. Bro, what? This is insane that he's expected to show this grace to these people. What the fuck, dude? This guy's fucking retarded, man!
Details because of what I said on the show to make it appear that it was...
This community that's perpetuated a narrative that at least has led to a fucking CPS call, why don't you be a bit more favourable to them and more gracious towards them? Fuck off, dude.
Somebody, he said, like when he first showed up, he's like, it's somebody that you know who made the report. And I'm like, no, okay.
Despite the fact that they had taken their child to the doctor concerning the illness that had been flagged down.
Sonny went to the doctor today
to get a poop evaluation, but I'm pretty sure he has it because the symptoms is like frequent.
Okay, you could watch this clip and you could think, oh, that's a bit troubling. Right? Oh, that's a bit worrying. But there's a big fucking line between listening to someone talk about something and having a problem with it in some abstract sense and deciding to call or perpetuate the narrative and or deciding to call CPS about it.
And then extremely foul-smelling diarrheas.
And I apologize if it sounds like I'm splitting hairs here, but I truly do believe that it is dangerous to have a platform of this size and make statements of fact that are actually opinion or speculation. Because while I often agree with Ethan and Gila about the most likely scenario that they base their assumptions on, it takes
Bro, this is fucking deranged. This is deranged. Like I said earlier, yeah, you need to be cautious about what you say about your family and your kids on the internet. I probably have said things that I shouldn't have that people could twist in horrible ways. Right? But like, it's so crazy to me that the narrative is like, oh, watch out what you say there, otherwise, CPS might be calling. It's such a deranged fucking thing. If it were just talking shit, whatever. But we've got such an extreme action in response to this. It's so insane that people are taking this tact, trying in some way to justify it.
Being wrong once for this to become a huge issue, especially when even in the likely scenario that this was targeted harassment, there is zero evidence that this is anything more than a sole actor. Yet they aren't even considering any scenario that goes beyond their gut.
If there's a narrative in a community that is so insane, and then it leads to a call, and that same community does everything it can to downplay and apologize for it, why are you supposed to be gracious to that community? And on top of them doing other things which we've not even seen the full extent of yet, which I think in the passage of time are going to be shown to be egregious. Why would you do that? You shouldn't be. You're not obligated to do that at all. Fuck this community, man. They're freaks. They're deranged freaks. They pushed it to a point where they don't just have the right to have their Reddit anymore. They should be banned. And it seems like he's done no research into the actual negative comments that you could point out towards the other side as well.
How do I make money off depressed people?
Massive Dingo became a member. Massive Dingo celebrates 2 months of membership.
Thank you for
This
the
idiot
membership.
has just said that we should only have news channels. No speculation at this size of following.
Reactions. But H3 just aren't able to see the shades of grey anymore, which is the end result of this decade-long feedback loop that evolved.
See the shades of grey about people that want to take you away from your kids. Yeah, sure, good one.
To a spiral. As much as I criticize several of their defensive moments, it's understandable when this is how far people are taking this. I can't pretend I would be better equipped to handle a situation like this while being constantly broadcast live. This seems like the exact time for the duo to step back and handle this behind the scenes while gathering information instead of doing anything publicly, but the show must go on, right? And I really do think that the format they're committed to, the quote-unquote lazier...
What? Be silent. Be silent in the face of deranged communities trying to destroy you and rip your kids away from you. Yeah, just be silent. Ignore it. And bro, it's gone to the point where they can't ignore it anymore. This is deranged analysis, bro. This is crazy. The whole income is off the back of talking about shit they get into online. And it's totally reasonable if they want to farm the fact that CPS record on them.
Your option is only going to continue making this worse. Anyone paying attention can see a clear cycle of bitterness between H3, their critics, their fans, and other creators. But without the ability to step back, that cycle is just never going to end. But okay, does this mean that any pivot to more efficient content is going to be that creator's downfall? No, of course not. Plenty of creators have used this pivot to elevate their careers to new heights. Quite notably, this includes Rhett and Link as well as Ryan Higa. See, they all used to be known for scripted videos with one-of-a-kind executions, but an unscripted morning talk show is what landed Rhett and Link on The Tonight Show, and Ryan Higa stopped uploading to his channel years ago in favor of a pretty successful, but intentionally unexciting Twitch career. In other words, both pivoted from making minutes of scripted content every month to hours upon hours of personality-driven content. Yet, when was the last time you've heard of controversy from either of them? And even Shane
Wait. Okay, I don't know about those guys. I just remember there was some drama. It might be different people. I think it's probably different people where they tried to set up like a streaming service and people didn't like it. That was different people, right? Anyway, I think, oh, be like these other creators. What if they don't want to do that? That was the Fine Bros. Yeah. They all look the same to me, all these big YouTube people. But anyway. In any case, like, it's just such a crazy idea of like, well, why don't you be more like these people? What if they don't want to? Yeah, they got to take the rough with the smooth and accept there's going to be some shit talking that comes their way. But why should they have to accept the levels it's got to from these insane communities? Just such a retarded comment.
Dawson had a similar trajectory, yet the vast majority of his controversies are from his past resurfacing rather than his newer content. So does this completely unravel everything that I've said? Is this trap of lazy content nothing more than my desperate attempt to get a good title for this video? No. See, there's a huge difference between the creators who tend to fall for this trap versus the ones that don't, and it's their rise. Almost every creator is going to get caught in that feedback loop of praise from their audience. So like I said, there's a good chance that they'll be more confident in whatever this feedback is aimed at and steer more into it. So in the case of Mythical Shane and Ryan, this feedback loop was more based on what they could do.
Right, guys. Yeah, my internet's gone all fucked. I don't know what's going on. Sweet. I'm on a hotspot on my phone. It's about to run out of battery. And yeah, I need to wrap up. Set up a new stream, which is gonna, unfortunately, fuck everything up. The ads aren't gonna be switched on, and it's gonna, dude, it's fucked. I'm raped. I'm totally raped. Let's just wrap this up so we can finish the segment off, and then that'll be it, okay?
So when you go from viewing YouTube as a grind to passive income, it can be a slippery slope, one that I desperately hope to protect myself from. So in order to make sure that I can't fall to the traps of lazy, pumped out slop content, I'm going to start developing my following over on Twitter by outputting at least 50 edgy tweets a day, starting right now. What? Everyone's using slurs on Twitter now. What's the worst that could happen? But
yeah, there we go. Right, guys, that's really fucking annoying because I wanted to talk about something else, but I can't. I need to go. My internet is, my phone's literally about to run out of battery. Yeah, and I'm a hotspot on it. I should have charged it. But anyway, I didn't expect the internet to go down. My main internet's gone down. So we'll have to wrap it up there, I'm afraid to say. Anyway, just to summarize that so we can finish off that segment. Yeah, terrible video. Jimmy Robbins should be ashamed of himself for making such a dog shit video. And hopefully he's learnt from this and he stops being a fucking loser. And that's it. That's the end of the reaction to that. There we go. I said everything else when I was covering it.